Dirt roads to rock crawling, two-buck chuck to screaming eagle, moonshine to 50-year-old single malt. We talk about it all here on Wheelin' Wine and Whiskey with your hosts, Jason and Chris.
Welcome to Wheelin' Wine and Whiskey, episode 248. Hello, Chris. How you doing?
Hey, Jason. How you doing, buddy?
Oh, good. Long time no talk. It seems like it's been forever.
Well, reality's in full swing again.
Oh, shit. Fucking reality. Adulting sucks, doesn't it?
Sometimes
you want to go back to a kid where everything was like provided for you and your dirty clothes magically became clean in your, room, and
people drove you to appointments and soccer practice and baseball practice and stuff.
Right. Exactly. Yeah, it was ballet practice for you, right?
Oh, no. No, I never did that.
Oh, okay. Trumpet?
No.
Trombone. You played the trombone.
Saxophone.
Saxophone. You would make a good saxophone player. Good pipes. All right. Well, we are joined today by two very special guests, dear friends of the podcast, dear friends of ours. Ultra4Jones is back on the podcast. Welcome back.
Hey, everybody. What's up?
We should do a Welcome Back Carter song here. Welcome back. Welcome back.
That was a great show.
Back. And none other than JLatte himself.
What's
Hot
up,
Rod.
Kevin, Chris, Jason? How the hell are you guys?
Hey, we're doing great. So, this is
awesome.
our circle back KOH, bringing it all back up. All the good memories, all the bad memories, all the memories of 2024 KOH. But
I was just having pleasant dreams.
I was going to say,
until today.
Is the therapy still helping out, or are we beyond therapy now?
Therapy helps.
Okay, good.
It definitely helps.
I know.
To
Last
talk
time I
to
talked to
someone.
you were deep in a therapy session. It was the Peanuts character. What was the Peanuts character that did the therapy?
Oh, Lucy.
Lucy had the therapy desk. Yes. There you go. All right. Well, without further ado, Kevin, it's your show, your podcast. Go ahead. Tell us all about KOH 2024. Start with, well, I don't know how far back we go. Let's go back to when we last podcasted, because we said, or you said, you were just going to bring your race suit, helmet, and head on down to the race bed and have a good old time. How'd that work out for you?
Completely deleted.
Yeah, that plan went right out the window.
ADHD,
through the window, across the yard, into the next door neighbor's house.
ADHD is a bitch, isn't it?
Yeah, it's a mother. I don't even know how I got from that episode to what just took place.
Yeah.
I really don't.
Because that episode we recorded and then it got pushed back a week, right, Chris?
I believe so, yeah.
Because we
bumped something into it.
Yeah, something happened and we bumped it back. And then before we released that episode, it was like you were already in the mix of getting another race car going. And it was like, holy smokes, Batman, here we go. So you had purchased a car, a previous KOH car that raced in 2016. When was the 18? 16 and 18. It started in 18. There you go. And then it raced in 18. Yes, something like that. Clarify this. Talk about the car and how you acquired it and all that.
Okay, I'll make it quick. So back in 2020, when I had the old car, I saw this car go up for sale on the internet, and it was wildly different, in the way it was built than most of the cars I was looking at, and obviously what I had and all those things. And so I started asking the internet back then, what is this car? Where did it come from? Because the guy selling it didn't have a lot of information. Just wasn't the best resource for learning more about the car. And very quickly, the power of the internet put me in contact with the guy that built the car.
Wow.
His name is Chris Coughlin, and he lives back east or Midwest, or I don't know, somewhere you can't even get to from here. And I had, back in 2020, I think I had about a 2-hour phone conversation with him about the car. And he asked me, well, how much does the guy want for it? And I told him, and he's like, oh, he's crazy. He's like, that thing's not worth that much. So he's like, offer him this. And I did. And it was so offensive to that guy that he just wrote me off.
Yeah.
And I went about my life. And then the car popped back up in my feed randomly, like a year ago, maybe, with a different owner. And I instantly messaged the guy and I said, hey, you bought the old Coughlin car. And he said, yeah, I was going to do this with it and going to do that with it. And I'm not really sure what I'm going to do with it. And I said, well, I don't know why, but I'm super intrigued by the thing. Let me know if you ever want to sell it.
Okay.
Well, fast forward a couple of years.
God, that's crazy.
I know that I've basically been kind of keeping tabs on this car for 4 years. And
stalker.
Yeah, he and I talked and we struck a deal, and I brought this stupid thing home.
So there you go, and we're out.
And so what kind of shape was this car in? Because I know we've had numerous conversations, but just kind of paint the picture for our listeners
Sure.
of the condition of this car.
Yes. So it was built.
It wasn't race prepped.
No. Well, I mean, depending on who you buy from
or what race you're racing.
Yeah, I've seen cars in worse condition, I think.
Okay.
But yeah, it was built in 2016. It was last raced in 2018, or attempted to race, and then after that, it sat in and outside of barns in Washington in the P&W for
a little wet
whatever
up
that
there.
would be, close to 6 years.
Ooh.
So yeah, a little bit wet, a little bit less than ideal. And then really over the course of those 6 years, the only thing that happened to it was parts got taken off of it.
Okay.
So, the wheels that were on it were gone. The winch was gone. The fancy oil cooler was gone. A lot of that stuff that could be, kind of pilfered,
right,
and taken and putting on different vehicles just slowly got went that direction.
Okay.
So I just told the guy, I said, hey, I don't really care what comes with it. I kind of understand what I'm getting. I just need it to roll onto my trailer. So he set me up with some like Dodge truck, just rollers, and he cobbled enough of it together to get it to run. And yeah.
Mm-hmm.
It was ugly. It was very.
Did you have buyer's remorse?
And,
did you have buyer's remorse when you got it home?
I've done a lot dumber things, but I did look at it pretty hard and definitely had some anxiety and a couple panic attacks about maybe what I had done. But I couldn't let Mallory see that, so I had to bury that deep down inside.
Yeah.
Never bring it up.
No. She is the saint. Is she partially blind? Is that how you get away with this stuff, or what? I don't understand how.
I mean, that's the only reason she's even attracted.
Oh, is that it? Okay.
She's partially blind.
Partially blind. Okay. Oh man, no. So good stuff. So now you have a race car, older race car. And then you were kind of just, you got it with the intention of like, hey, it's a good.
Yeah. My original plan was, because I still want to build the 4800 car and finish that and race that, but I can't help but watch maybe the guys I look up to, kind of the Lauren and Vaughn and these guys that are operating on a professional level. They have, whatever term you want to use, but I was using the term show pony.
Uh-huh.
They have vehicles that are just for exhibition,
Sure.
just for display, things like that. That way the race car never has to look good except for when it takes the starting line. And I thought, what a better way to showcase sponsor products like Mickey Thompson tires and Raceline wheels and Baja Designs lights and Switch Pros and all these products, right? Than to have a car that they're dedicated on, that is available to go to Off-Road Expo or SEMA or LS Fest or, Trail Hero or whatever. And that way you're just never dependent on the race car trying to keep it assembled and trying to get it places. So in my head, at least that was my original justification, was this was going to be for marketing purposes. And it's the very first fully independent suspension Ultra4 ever built.
Wow.
So I think it has kind of a place in Ultra4 history in that respect.
Parked right next to the old Bronco that was in the KOH marketplace.
Right. At least that thing won a race or completed one even. But
what did Ian say? Something about legendary?
Legendary. Yes.
Yeah.
So because then when we were talking and you're like, okay, I got this crazy idea, and I'm like, oh wow, this is, and I never saw the car, you sent me a picture of it and I'm like, well, that's pretty freaking cool. It was a cool, interesting car, right? Independent front, independent rear, and one seat, single seat. So it was like, like you say, it was the first car, independent, fully independent, that raced Ultra4. So it had a cool factor to it. And it's like, okay, but knowing what you know and what I know about cars, there's a lot to it, a lot of moving parts. And it was, how much time did you have from when you decided I'm going to race this MFer to getting to the lakebed? What was that? It was like 2 months, if that.
Yeah.
About 2 months.
2 months that sounds generous.
Yeah.
I feel like.
Yeah, and I know you missed your deadline on your countdown timer by a day or two, but it was like 2 months, and daunting task. Even if you were like multi-millionaire and could work on your car and didn't have to worry about work and family and all the other adulting stuff going on, but you said we're going to do this, and you started tearing it apart and finding all kinds of stuff that needed to be fixed. So, you weren't cobbling something together just to get out to the racetrack. You were trying to make it let's try and get this race done car, right? I mean, I guess that's the point I want to make, is that you could have taken a lot more shortcuts, but you took time to improve the car.
Right. The perfect example of that is, with the original thought process of just clean the car up, make it run, have it available for trade shows and events and things like that. I was going to leave the Dana 300 transfer case in it that came with the car, but the front drive shaft angle was hideous, and there was no way it was ever going to go faster than 20 miles an hour. So as soon as I made the decision, to race it, I knew that was kind of front and center. I had to fix the drive shaft angle if the car was going to travel at any speed. So I mean, just that singular quote upgrade alone opened a huge can of worms that in and of itself, like if it was a running driving car, like that would have been a really cool big project to undertake, of switching that aspect of the drivetrain and making all the associated modifications. But instead, that was just one thing I had to figure out amidst all the things.
So how did you choose, or how did you get the idea to put in this? Was it a Range Rover transfer case or something?
Land Rover. Out of a Discovery 1 or Discovery 2.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, again, I go back to having the original builder at my access, and he told me 4 years ago when we talked on the phone, he said what it really needs is a Land Rover case.
Oh, really?
And I didn't remember the details of it, so when I bought the car, I immediately reached out to him again, and I said, hey, I apologize, but you're going to have to catch me up on what we talked about like 4 years ago. And he's just like, this guy's insane. Like, who is this guy? So, he lined it out for me and why that was, in his mind, the best transfer case for the car. And it was hard to follow at first, but once I really got into it and started laying it out, it did make a lot of sense. And I'm really, like, of all the things I did, I'm really glad I did that.
And that's because that case, the front and the rear output were like in line, were linear?
Yeah. Yeah, they're both on the, traditionally, like, it's always hard to describe over the phone or whatever, but if a rear output is traditionally in line with the transmission and the front output is on that, offset of about a foot, The Land Rover's unique. There's a couple other production examples, but this one is obviously what I went with. The rear output is on that same 1 foot offset that the front output's on. So with an offset drivetrain like I have, it basically puts the front and rear yokes
Back in line.
in line
Got
with
it.
the middle of the car. So it makes the drive shaft angle, I mean, damn near straight. It's pretty cool.
That's cool. Yeah. So that solved that issue, but created a lot of other more issues for you of modifications, and then trying to find a Land Rover case, and that turned into a whole nother saga. You got a crash course in Land Rover freaking transfer cases, didn't you? And parts aren't like readily available in the U.S. because that's a foreign object. It's a European freaking case. So
yeah, it was cool in that, and that was one example during this bigger scale thing that I think one of my favorite parts about doing any of this stuff is all the things you get to learn and all the people you get to meet that are specialists and knowledgeable, and they make some crazy product that you would never ever in your life need unless you go down this silly rabbit hole about how to run an offset drivetrain that takes you to needing a synchro gearbox adapter from England and parts from Ashcroft transmissions over there. And then it turns out the world expert in LT230 transfer cases lives 40 minutes from me.
how is that? That is like,
And we'll bend over backwards to build me the baddest Rover transfer case
with
you've ever seen.
a trunk full of transfer case parts.
Yeah.
That's
Yeah.
right.
Yeah. So that stuff is easily the most nerve-wracking part of the whole deal, is figuring out what you're going to do and who you're going to use and where you're going to get stuff. But then when you do put those pieces together, it's the single most satisfying part for me is just watching these different people and companies come together, and it just produces. It's pretty fun.
Yeah, and it's internet gold too. I mean,
Yeah.
you're really good about posting on your stories and giving updates, because a lot of people were living vicariously through you, and then I would sit there at like 11 o'clock at night and check my IG, and you'd be like, okay, I'm finishing up this and I'm gonna do that, and then I'd wake up at 5:30 in the morning, and then your next post that was like 3 hours ago, you were just wrapping it up and heading to bed, and I'm like, oh, this is crazy, this is insane. So, but it's cool. It was a huge undertaking. I don't think you realized how much of an undertaking. So if you look back and go, oh my God, if you knew what you know now, you would have just said, okay, this is a show pony. I'm heading down with my helmet and race suit and having a good time at KOH, right?
Right.
Yeah, I mean, I think this really leads into probably the rest of the conversation, in that there were multiple times along the way of that 2 months that I wanted to quit.
Yeah.
I wanted I don't even know if I have common sense, but whatever that is was telling
Everything
me.
was telling you no.
Everything was telling me, put the tools down, go back to work,
away.
put money in the bank account, spend time with your family. Like everything was pointing that direction. Every time I'd hit a roadblock, every time something went wrong. But what made that impossible to do was all the people that started coming up out of the woodwork and, into my life and just wanted to help.
Yeah, and you're vested. Go ahead, Rodney.
Yep.
Yeah, so I witnessed this at dinner while I was with him. Every night I'd be sitting across from Kevin, and he'd just be like hanging his head and looking and thinking about what he's gotten himself, and you could see the quit. But as soon as dinner was over, we were back out in the shop, we were back out in the garage, and we were banging and clanging, as Chris likes to say, and
Hell yeah.
it happened.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think Rodney brings up a good point. It's not until you stop working that you start to even contemplate, like, this
Exactly.
is so dumb.
Right.
This is so dumb. This is so bad. Like, my body hurts so much. I'm so tired. I'm so broke. But if you keep working, like, you just do what's in front of you, and you just keep doing that until you can't stand up anymore. And
well, I think it's kind of the good analogy here is like a marathon runner, right? You're like, quarter of the way into the race going, what the fuck did I sign up for? And you've done all this training, and then you're in it, and then, you're like questioning, I shouldn't have signed up for this race, so this is stupid. And then, but then you get past that point of the and then you get that, what do you call it? The runner's high. And you're like, okay, now you're feeding off of IG is you're getting all these kudos from people and like, dude, keep going, you're almost there, and I got this for you, and I'm gonna come down. I mean, hell, Rodney, took what, 3 days out of your trip that you could have been relaxing and drinking beer on the lake bed to go wrench on a car with Kevin, right?
Let's call those 3 days 10 days. So,
yeah, but the first you left early.
I altered. I saw where Kevin was in his IG post. So I was the same way, dude. I'm going to bed at night. I'm looking at Kevin's posts. I'm watching him as the midnight machinist, getting things done. And I'm just like, look, what my wife is going to tell me to, you might as well go down there and help him. So he's an hour and a half off of the path of me going down. So I just moved my schedule back a couple days, and I went down there on Friday afternoon, left from work, towing my trailer.
Yeah, that's pretty cool. Because obviously we all talk, and you're like, yeah, I'm heading down there, and I'm like, wow, right on. And I think I talked to Kevin, and I let the cat out of the bag early because I had talked to you, and I don't think he realized or didn't know.
He wasn't tracking. He wasn't tracking the whole time.
He couldn't remember, if you guys had a conversation or whatever. And I said, I think Rodney's on his way down. He goes, no shit.
Yeah, in a couple days.
Yeah.
So then he called me after that, and he's like, hey, so when were you planning on coming down? So, we squared that up. I said, I'll be camping in your yard for a couple days. Yeah. And it just turned out that the rainstorm that came through California kind of hampered conditions on the lake bed. So we were better off just staying right where we were, keep pounding away on the car, and get things done.
Got it. Yeah, absolutely. Man, yeah, and it took a tribe. I mean, you had a freaking tribe, not a pit crew. You had a fucking tribe. I don't know if you should start a cult or something, Kevin, because somehow you got all these people
the cult of Kevin.
Yeah, all these people to give up their personal time and come help. Because
I got it.
They want to be. Okay, go ahead.
We'll call it Jonestown.
No. Not even you.
Shit. That one's already been taken.
Yeah, right. Trademarked already.
All right. Let me think about that some more.
To work on another one. But no, it's got to be. So that is, it's a blessing and a curse, right? Like you said, if you were a one-man show all the way along, and you could have easily just hung it up and said, nope, I'll see you guys on the lake bed with a case of beer and go. But no, you got motivation from these people, but you also had obligations to these people of like, okay, we got to get some sort of a race car cobbled together on the lake bed and cross that start line. And there you are. So where I don't even know. I mean, this podcast could go on for 5 hours, but and I don't want to miss any of the crucial details, but so let's kind of back up a little bit. So Rodney came down and helped you. You had other people. You had neighbor Kevin helping you. You had your dad. I'm sorry.
Neighbor Andy.
Neighbor Andy helping you. You had your dad helping you, Dennis, and all these people coming over. And I know initially that is not you like to do everything yourself, and you get an expert in there or whatever, fine. But with your old program, you were like, I'm doing all this stuff and making sure all these nuts that get my fingers on every nut and bolt. But you were so up against the gun, and you're like, I'll take all the freaking help I can get at this point.
Yeah. I mean, we've had a lot of conversations about that over the years, and that, I'm so controlling, and, those are some pretty deep-seated issues I've had for a long time, and I'm trying to work on that. But I thought this car was the perfect opportunity to try to expand my horizons a little
Right.
bit because one, I was way behind the time curve, and two, I really, and I was pretty open about it from the beginning. I felt like this was for sure my DNF year. Like this car had no KOH pedigree. It was way behind schedule. It'd been sitting for 6 years. I didn't have a race in it somewhere else. I had no time to shake the car down, nothing like that. So I felt like if there was a year I was going to quote take chances, like this would be the year. So it's like all I ever get is offers from people to help, and it's like why not really just let go this year and see what that's like. And it was 99% positive experience to just completely let go. And if somebody said I want to help, just say cool. When are you going to be here?
And
Yeah.
and what's your expertise?
Yeah, and everybody's got something that they may or may not want to do, something they may or may not feel comfortable doing. And there were a couple situations where maybe I asked people to do something that was outside of their wheelhouse, and then I was able to kind of correct that a little bit and say, okay, well, why don't we? I think Rodney even commented at some point. My list was like categorized, with maybe specialties or whatever you want to call it.
Like you didn't know that Rodney's specialty was muffler bearing mechanic in his previous career.
Yeah,
You didn't know that.
My first job when I got there, I showed up and it was just after dinner, 6, 7 o'clock or so. Sun just gone down, and I'm like, "Where do I start, Kevin?" He's like, "Why don't you do some vent lines?" So, here's the rule book on vent lines, right? It has to come up and over and down.
3 sides and down.
You need some barb fittings, some tube, and some zip ties. That's my first job. So
yeah, it's
right
pretty
up your
easy,
alley, buddy.
Here you got to connect this hose at this end, and then the other end goes nowhere.
Goes to nowhere.
It just goes nowhere.
Just goes out into the
comes out
ether.
somewhere.
But I mean, I think that's a perfect example where Rodney and I were able to establish a rapport in that he knew that was like quote a test, and that he had to follow the rule book and he had to run the vent lines the right way. And he was so meticulous in the way that he did it, and he executed it so well that it's like, okay, now you get to move to the middle category of tasks
Lug
that
nut
need to be
mechanic.
done. Yeah,
I got dinged for using too many zip ties.
Oh, too many Harbor Freight.
we got to
zip
pay
ties.
for those. I mean, we don't
Exactly.
have a zip tie sponsor.
No.
So what now? This is cool because this is a learning, growing experience, and it's like now with the future, with your 4800 car, getting that on the racetrack. What's that look like now in the future of having people help you and finish that project and get that car on the race course?
Yeah, what I thought was really cool about the whole thing, and I started really embracing. I mean, we put it on the shirts like in 2021. We put Team 518, but I didn't really mean. I didn't get it back then. I put it on there, but it didn't really wrap my head around it. This experience really showed me that it's a team effort, and these are my people.
Right.
So I really want to carry that forward, and that everything that I do requires a team effort if it's going to be done well and on these crazy timelines and with these unrealistic expectations. So I'm super happy of the people that joined Team 518, and some will come back and have already said they can't wait, and some are still in therapy.
Right, they're going. They're in the fetal position in the corner of their home, going, "What the hell just happened?"
And they blocked me on IG, and we'll never talk
IG.
again. So, they're going back. They're going back and unliking all my posts and stuff.
Yeah.
It's crazy, but.
He's below 9,000 followers.
Yeah, there you
now.
go. We're almost at 10, and then now we're way back down. Okay.
So you just described me to a T. So.
Right. So I feel like this year was kind of like the audition / I mean, even that sounds pretentious, but just this is where we all kind of came together. We threw a lot of I had some people, other racers that were like, "How did you get so many people to help you?" And I'm like, well, I think that's, like it or not, that's one of the side effects of being a social media whore. Is this has been lurking in the background for a long time, and now you've given these people an opportunity to just go from the background to the foreground, and they're all in. They're all about it. So it was really cool, and it also showed me there are people that have said they were, quote, in my camp or wanted to be a part, but then when this went down, they were nowhere to be seen. So I really felt like, this kind of vetted my process, and it took the lip service out of a lot of it. Because these guys, Rodney and Chris with a K, and I don't even want to leave anybody out.
You're going to keep going.
It would
Roger, Lee,
Brian,
Dad, Mike,
Yep.
everybody.
But these people used their time off from work, their vacation time to. I mean, nobody quite got the VIP experience that Rodney got, but he also had to pay for it. The VIP experience is not free.
No.
But these people, they genuinely made a sacrifice to help me pursue my dream, and I'm so grateful and so thankful for that.
Well, yeah.
Kevin actually reached out kind of when he put it out there on the story, and he says, "Look, DM me your email if you're down with being on my pit crew." And I guess he had a good number of people who did that, and he kind of messaged me, and he said, "What do these people want? Do they just want to? They want a free shirt? Free shirt and drink my beer and have a meal, or what?" And I'm like, "I don't know, man." But he's like, "Well, what are you looking for?" And I said, "I want a different experience on the lake bed that I've had for the last 5 years." Right?
You don't want to relax.
Got that all right.
You don't want to. You just want.
Well, look, and then you're following Kevin, right? And how do you not get wound up in the whole get this car to the lake bed deal, right? And help out a friend at the same time. So, so that's just how I got hooked. And I think it's how the other people got hooked as well. And they became a part of the story, a part of the fabric.
And you kind of became a pseudo crew chief, didn't you? Like helping organize the crew?
No, I was project coordinator.
Same thing.
No, logistics.
Logistics.
Yeah.
Yes.
He's promoted though. He's and crew chief is so. That's so
Cachet,
NASCAR. Yeah. Like we're going team principal now.
Oh, team principal.
We gotta elevate our program a little bit, so.
Okay.
No, and I probably took my job a little too serious at first because I knew we were going to the lake bed. There was no doubt about that. Kevin was the one who was doubting whether this car can actually make it to the lake bed. And once I was emailing, I put out the spreadsheet, I was making a meal plan, and Kevin finally chimed in. "Oh, you're coming down early."
Yeah.
So, I'm like, okay, so I know you didn't read any emails. I know you didn't pass it on to Mallory and get help on that end. But but Kevin was just so focused with what he had in front of him, and that's really all you could do, because the whole time I was there over the weekend, it wasn't until the last 12 hours that car actually became a car. Kevin, you might want to speak to this, but that process of working and checking off your checklist and making sure things are going right and you got parts ordered and your supply is correct. Tell us about that last 12 hours when the panels got put on the car.
Yeah, I mean, you said it at one point. You're like, the dinner before that, Mallory's preparing wonderful food for us, and we come inside, we wash our hands, and we sit down. And I'm just like, every night for the last month or whatever, I've been hanging my head in my hands, and just shoveling food in and then going back outside. And that night we got the car running, I guess, and I maybe took it for that test drive around the block. Rodney said, my expression at dinner was like a complete 180. You know,
Mhm.
he's like, your head was up, you were smiling, like you were talking, actually enjoying a beer instead of drowning the pain with it. You know, like it said, it was such a transformation. And it's true. And I've done that with all these dumb mechanical projects for so long that it literally feels like you just beat your head against a wall every day for weeks on end. And then if you've done a good job with scheduling of parts, you know, getting labor tasks lined out, waiting on people and processes, and if you've done that right, then it actually does all come together in the last day or 2 days or something like that.
Well, I just want to say real quick that watching all the stuff that was going down on Instagram, obviously Rodney was there firsthand, but even prior to Rodney getting there and all the stuff going on the month before, I mean, there was a lot of chicken and egg stuff going on, you know, I mean, it's like you were working as, what did Rodney say? Midnight machinist. I mean, there's things like, I got to work on my actual lathe to get it dialed in before I can start machining anything or whatever. It's like, so, I mean, you got to dial in the equipment to make the equipment is kind of the story, the sub story to this whole scenario.
Yeah, no, I mean, it's true. Like every day matters and every task matters. And just because, you know, the next thing in front of you sequentially is like, I don't know, weld a tab on the chassis. Well, that doesn't take long and that can happen at any point. But if you don't measure and order drive shafts, or you don't machine those yokes at midnight so that you can even put them on so that you can measure drive shafts and order them come Monday, then yeah, it just doesn't happen, right? And the things don't happen at the right time and all that. So it's, you know, I built this car also outside under, you know, mild shelter, but also that's the part of my property that's the closest to neighbor Andy's bedroom.
Oh yeah.
So I was also playing this dance, and Andy always tells me to like, don't even sweat it. But I'm sorry, like I like them too much to just be a complete a-hole at 3 a.m. Yeah. So I would try to like quit being outside at maybe midnight, and then I would go do the lathe or the mill work or the putting the fuel cell together or something I could do in the garage quietly in the, you know, early hours of the morning. So it just, that dance of when and what to do, honestly, is probably more exhausting than the physical work itself.
Yeah.
Because trying to keep that matrix straight in my head is just overwhelming. And then unfortunately, like, well, now let's open this up a little bit more. I have a wife and a family.
Mm-hmm.
I've got all that going on in my head, and my wife comes out, bless her heart, and says, "What do you want for dinner?" And I just explode.
Yeah.
You know, like I can't handle one more thing, and now I have to.
Now I gotta decide what I want to eat.
Now I got to decide what I want for dinner. Like, oh man, so it's pretty. It's just dumb.
It's real
That's
life.
all there is to it. It's so dumb.
It's real life stuff, but it is in that's, you know, logistics, right? It's like, okay, I got to get this part ordered from freaking Europe.
Yep.
Because I know it's going to take 7 days, you know, minimum to get to me or whatever it is. And then you get that part and you put it on and you're like, oh shit, now I need this other part, you know, so you don't know. It's a vicious cycle, and you're trying to stay ahead of that game. And like, you know, what can I do? What do I need to get done now that's going to set me up for tomorrow's activities? Right. And that is, I mean, and in such a compressed time frame is just fucking insane, you know. And it's amazing that you didn't have a freaking heart attack, dude. I don't know how you did it, but I mean, I've gotten ready. I mean, just on a non-race level, getting ready for trips, and same thing. It's like, oh, I got to get this ordered and have that, and it's like, if I don't have it, my trip's not ruined. I'm not going to miss the race. I'm still going to the damn race, you know. But you're in a different situation where you got to get a car there on the start line, and it's a crazy another level, I guess, is the point.
I think I've said it maybe on previous podcasts, but I don't care if it's like, your marathon that you kind of made an analogy to earlier, where it's purely something that's like, 90% physical or
Mhm.
whatever, or it's something like this that's 90% logistical. I think there's so much value in pushing the human body.
Yeah.
Not all the time,
No.
but every once in a while. I think there's a tremendous value in pushing the human body to really maybe even prove to yourself like
Mhm.
what is capable if you really lay it all out there. Because I go back to normal life after that, and everything just feels so easy
Right?
and slow motion. It's just crazy, like the level you're operating at. Your body is just peaked. I lost 10 pounds in that month leading up to Hammers, and for anybody that's seen
I was going
me,
to say, wait a
You,
minute.
I
you don't
don't
have 10 pounds to lose.
I don't
Brad.
have 10 pounds to
Well,
lose.
wait a minute. And I was going to say you were
I
pounding
can
those
lose 10.
you were pounding those C minuses, so you were putting
VIP,
empty
Chris.
carbs back in. So it wasn't
Yeah.
like you were, it wasn't a healthy 10-pound loss, right?
No, I would definitely say that's not ideal.
No.
Of course, my wife's looking at that like, oh, maybe I should try this diet. It's called the tweaker diet. You just work 18 hours a day, and
Yeah, without the meth.
yeah, right,
No, it's all fentanyl now. It's about fentanyl.
yeah.
All right. So yeah, that's man, the chaos, the buildup, the craziness to get to the day you decided you finally had the vehicle on. It's a roller. The engine's running. It's good to go. Did we lose Jason? Did he lock
He
up?
froze. And maybe they're having a storm or something. I don't know.
I don't know. The
At
internet.
least he's got a
admittance
smile on
sucks.
his face while he's
I'm going to
frozen.
carry the show, but
Okay.
Tumbleweed probably took out the internet.
Yeah.
so anyway, so you got the car running, and you finally got to the point where you wanted to take it for a quick. You wanted to have it take a drive around the block before you threw it in the trailer.
Yeah, I mean, you have to, right? So that's kind of the celebratory. And it was cool having Rodney and Chris with a K there that, they got to witness that too. That the car finally is on its wheels and it runs and drives. And you can't put all the body panels and skid plates and stuff on until you know that it actually even, because up until that point, a ton of stuff was theory. Like, we didn't know if that transmission was going to go into gear and if the drive shafts were going to vibrate and anything. So quick little drive around the block and then kind of back to work, really. We diversified everything that we had to do, putting body panels on, and Rodney jumped on the stickering of the car, and I started working on packing tools and parts and figuring out what the logistics were going to look like to get out of there. And I think we even decided to add a day at home at that point. Between the mud and everything we had to do, it was like, why push, get no sleep, and hit the road? Why don't we just stay home essentially an extra day just to make sure we've got our last full night's sleep? We've got
because
everything.
we planned to roll the car on the lake bed.
Right. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. That was part of the timeline, so we had to make sure we fit that in there.
I'm finding that hard to believe.
Let's show up a day later.
Yeah.
Let's show up a day later.
Then wreck the car.
And have to rebuild it all over again.
Yeah, things were going too good, right? We had to.
All right, so now that Rodney's kind of let that cat out of the bag, let's talk about that. So you finally, like you just said, Kevin, you got the car, you got the car driven. You wanted to do a little bit more work on it back at home base, and then all of you got a good night's rest, and then the next morning you were going to load up or head out to go to the lake bed.
Oh no, I got a good night's rest. Kevin and Chris. Props to Chris.
With a K.
Chris with a K, Reckless Wrench Garage has not been mentioned enough on this podcast.
Oh, yeah.
True.
I can tell you that I tapped out. I kept saying, well, I'm going to retire. Well, I kept doing a few things. The next thing you know, this car is on the ground. It's been weighed, and Kevin doesn't like the setup on the right rear end. It's towed out a little bit. So as I retired, they were taking off that trailing arm. And when I got up the next morning, I was the first one up at the garage looking at it, and that thing is straight. And I'm like, holy shit, these guys knocked it out till like 3 a.m. to get that thing where Kevin wanted it.
It was pretty gnarly. Like Chris blew away all my expectations of like what it means when somebody comes to help you, right?
Yes.
And I remember at some point Rodney goes to bed and I go, "Are we done?" And Chris goes, "Nope." And I'm like, "Do we need to put on the like whatever shock reservoir mounts?" And he's like, "Yep." I'm like, then are we done? And he goes, "Nope." And I'm like, "Do we have to put it on the wheels tonight?" And he goes, "Yep." And I'm like, okay. So like I don't even remember what hour that was, but
he would not stop.
He wouldn't stop.
He wouldn't stop. He drove Kevin.
Guy's a maniac. He's an animal.
Mean, you think Kevin is a driven guy? Chris was driving Kevin for like 3 days straight.
Yep. So being motivated like that, I mean, you weren't in the military, were you, Kevin?
No.
No, do you think, was Chris in the military maybe?
Yeah, still is. Still is.
Yeah,
so active military.
Those guys, you know, I mean, especially if they're special forces or something like that. I mean, they go through a hellish, you know, nightmarish training regimen to make that happen. But I mean, you're a fireman, so I mean, your work shifts are, you know, can be pretty chaotic, and you're relatively young and fit dude. So, but you know, it's pushing the body to the limit, like you said, which I know I couldn't do. There's no freaking way that I'd be able to stay up till 3 a.m. or even pull all nighters. I remember doing that in college. And, you know, when I would take that quick cat nap before going to class in the morning, I'd be like, I feel like shit. I don't but, yeah, I don't know. Jason's still out to lunch. I just texted him to reboot his computer. He's but we're going to keep the show flowing. So when did you finally, when the car went into the trailer, it was running. It was good to go. It had all its panels on it. It shifted gears. It did its thing.
I mean, we were Rodney. Correct me if I'm wrong. I mean, I think it was only missing like the safety equipment stuff, that just those last minute tech items. Like we didn't have the first aid kit installed. We didn't have the extinguishers on because Aaron was going to loan me his extinguishers that he had serviced so that they were certified. So like there were a few things that were going to happen at the lakebed that we knew, but the car was 100% assembled, running, driving. Like
fantastic.
We just needed to get all the fluid circulated. We needed to see the tires turn and drive shafts, you know, not vibrate. And, you know, so he took it around a lap kind of around his block, but I don't know, you could hear him coming. You know, and there was a bicyclist going up the road. I'm like, okay. And it's kind of a windy road. I'm like, all right, watch out. I can hear him. So
did you go check out Lou Ferrigno's place while you were there?
Oh yeah. I should have showed you where he lives, Rodney.
Oh no. No. I didn't see him overworking it.
No. Yeah.
What's the deal? Lou.
I think he's got a few too many painkillers running through his body these days.
If I hear neighbor Lou, I'll know.
Yeah, there you go. Right?
So you loaded up, you rolled to the lakebed, and the big arrival. Woohoo! We're here, and then you unload the car, and then what went on?
Well, I mean, you know, I had a checklist while I was on the road, and the first one was as soon as I got to the lakebed, I needed to find ADS shocks. Because the car has no bump stops, whether like there's just no urethane hard bump, there's no air bumps, it's just the shocks. So Tyler at ADS wanted to replace the tiny little urethane shaft bumps with some really big foam ones. So the very first stop was find them. And it was like, I remember this felt really like demoralizing to me. Was we had just spent
no Kongs for you?
We'd spent all this time building the car and putting parts on for the last time and tightening bolts and all this. And as soon as I got to the lakebed, we took it apart again. Yeah. Like taking the shocks off the car as soon as we got there was like it was such a crush to me. But I was just like, well, race car. Like,
Yep.
welcome to Hammers. You know, like as quick as you put it together, you take it apart. You know, so here we go. So we did that, and then Tyler said, "Okay, be back here at 9 a.m. tomorrow morning, and we'll get some sort of baseline tune on it." Because I mean, new shocks, new springs, car that he'd never seen before. I'd never been in. Like, you know, we got to do preload, we got to do crossover rings. He wants to check nitrogen, like all that stuff, just to even go out and drive the car.
Mhm.
You know, so.
Am I back on?
I think you're here. Welcome
You
back.
can hear me now.
Hey, Jason, welcome to the show.
I heard you the whole time, and I'm talking, and nobody was answering. It was so.
We didn't want to. We didn't want. I muted you.
I was going to say. I think Lorenzo said this is it. This is the end, and Kevin and Rodney are taking over the podcast.
We're taking over the podcast.
Yeah,
this
it's
is
a full takeover.
It's a coup.
My cursor started moving around on the computer screen all by itself. I was freaking out, but
yeah.
No, we couldn't hear you. We didn't see you or anything. So glad to have you back.
Are you really glad to have me back?
Hell yeah, absolutely. Back in the whatever. I don't know. Fuck it.
Back in the saddle again.
Back in the saddle. So we're on. So you probably figured out we're on the lake bed. Kevin's just
I know what's going on. I was trying to talk, but I couldn't talk. Felt like a deaf mute. I was just communicating, but nobody was listening to me.
Poor Jason.
I know that internet in Minden's awesome.
Well, I don't know. I think it was the computer, to be honest with you. And it could have been the lightning strike we just had. Or maybe. It could have been freaking what it really was Lorenzo tripping over the power cord to this thing, and that's what happened. And this computer runs off a 220 because it's so old, so it's inefficient.
Actually, you need to wind it up. You forgot to wind it. Maybe just tell us the truth. So. Okay. Anyway, we're on the lake bed. Kevin's rocking and roll.
Is the inflatable Rod and Hammer's bottle up yet?
I remember asking my dad to do that. It went up pretty quick. Yeah. My dad was setting up camp, and he gave me the traditional, like, what do you need me to do? You know, and I said, I need you to tie this to the top of my trailer and plug it in, you know. And it was awesome. Like that was so cool. I was calling it the bat signal, you know, like if the bottle's inflated, we're there, come by, you know, have a drink, whatever. And we only got told to take it down one time, and there's another, like, one of those W events woke me up. So at like 5 a.m. in my underwear, I run outside and I like pull the bottle down off the roof because I didn't want to have to explain to Rod and Hammer how I destroyed their inflatable whiskey bottle that cost a couple grand or something.
Why their whiskey bottle was in Yucca Valley?
Yeah, exactly. So
Vegas, Springs. What are you talking about?
Palm Springs. Yeah, it's on top of the Wynn at freaking Vegas.
Right.
Oh no! All right, so we're on the lake bed. Car's there. You tore it apart. You're putting ADS. It sounds like ADS jumped through a lot of hoops for you. And really...
I mean, not a plug, but this is just like the real thing, because a lot of people always ask me like, "Oh, what do you think about ADS?" And I said, it's really simple for me. I think a lot of companies make good products, and I don't think in the shock market that's any different. But customer service has to be at the top for me, because we just talked about what a horrible time frame we operate on, and how we need stuff last minute, and I need access to customer service, and ADS is the only company that ever has met that for me. So I told them, until their customer service falls apart, like, they have a customer for life, and I don't. You know, they got bought out by Holly, and I was like, oh no, wow. I was like, it's going to go downhill. Like, they're going to go all corporate. Nothing has changed. Tyler still runs the program exactly how he wants to. So I've got, you know, I think that was part of the thrash too, right? I put ADS shocks on my truck, putting the engine back in. So I've got ADS across 3 vehicles, and I'm just going to keep that wave going, because it's customer service. Like that's
so. What does ADS? So what does ADS stand for?
Arizona Desert Shocks.
Oh, is that what it is?
Yeah.
Okay, because it's very close to ADHD. So I was trying.
Yeah, that's why we're a good fit. Yeah, it's you know, couple ADSs over here, couple ADSs over there. couple ADSs in the garage.
But what
you know,
was
just
what
kinda-
was interesting and I'll just go ahead and say somewhat validating is freaking Shannon Campbell went to ADS Shock.
Yeah.
So
Yep.
what's that all about, right? So that's pretty freaking cool. To hear that they're supporting, the big guy and the little guy here, that's putting together an ancient Ultra 4 car.
Yeah, I don't think, maybe I'm way wrong. I don't think they have the budget to throw money at a bunch of people like some of the other shock companies do. But what I've seen from Tyler is the people that he wants to get involved with and wants to help are like the passionate people in the industry, right? So I think that was part of the appeal of him working with me is that like I'm the guy, I don't know how to rebuild the shock, but I'm the guy putting the shock on and taking the shock off. I'm the guy building the suspension that I'm bolting the shock to. And obviously Shannon Campbell is like that times 100,
yeah.
right?
Well,
So I think when you look at the consumer and what they're trying to do, that we are their market. Like the guys building their dreams and their garages or shops or barn dominiums or whatever, like I think that's ADS's best clientele, is like, because some of the stuff their products are on are like the wildest builds you've ever seen.
sure.
And I'm not getting free stuff from them. I just enjoy working with them.
Yeah.
And not to mention, Kevin kind of wadded a few of the shocks up in that roll.
Yeah. Folded a couple of them up for him.
He folded a couple of them up, and they had them repaired, and we
just
had
to get
the
them
next day.
Just to give them something to do. Tyler wasn't busy enough.
Everybody was standing around twiddling their thumbs, and
So once again, Rodney lets the cat out of the bag. So let's do that. Let's talk about that, Kevin.
Let's just rip off the Band-Aid.
Just rip off the Band-Aid.
right into it.
Let's talk
now
about
that
shock
Jason's
tuning
back.
day.
Yeah, we got to speed this up, right?
No, it's just
it goes. We can go however long we want. It's our freaking podcast.
Well, Chris is going to give us the wrap it up.
No.
That is true. You're going to get the little, hey, turn on the porch. He's going to flick the porch light three times.
The guy over here ripped the Band-Aid off right there. So.
He's going to rip. He's going to flash the porch.
All right. Okay. So first morning on the lakebed, I'm got the car over at ADS at 9 a.m. Tyler hoists it up from his gantry, does all his preload, asks me some questions, does this and that. And then we follow him out to where he wants to do some shock tuning, which if he told me he didn't have time for, I was going to be okay with that. Because I was like, we have so much to do and I know so little about the car. Like if he can even just set ride height, I'll just start driving and we'll just, figure some stuff out. But he's like, no, let's go see where it's at. And where we went is where I tuned my old car back in 2021. And so I knew the section and I knew like how brutal it was in that old solid axle, rock donkey. And right away, I asked Tyler, I'm like, you want me to do anything in particular? And he's like, no, just go out and get the shocks warm. So just start going back and forth. And right away, I was like, oh, wow, this is a lot different. Like, fully independent suspension sitting probably 2 feet lower to the ground, like just completely different. Like nothing could compare. And
it was like a side-by-side.
Yeah. And that was that thing of like, okay, I just killed myself for 2 months. And that first 10 minutes driving the car, I was just like, it's all worth it.
Really?
It's all worth it.
Okay.
I'm like, this is so cool to just drive something that you built and to just smash it through whoops and let the motor sing and bang the gears and all that stuff. And it was really cool to be able to do it, like, because it wasn't just Tyler, it was a whole bunch of the pit crew guys. Like, I don't remember everybody that was there, but I feel like it was a lot of the guys that came to help. And
I missed out. I missed out on the rollover because I was running parts. I was at O'Reilly's.
Yep.
Getting parts. We caught up with them and we were going out there, and then I was having an issue with my spare tire, so we stopped and we lost them.
I got a question. When you went to O'Reilly's, Rodney, did you tell me you were Kevin Jones to get the discount?
No, that's only
Yes!
the Napa. That's only the Napa.
Oh, it only works in
No,
Napa.
hey, come to find out, it was
Oh.
more expensive.
Long,
It was.
Longtime listeners of the podcast
Yeah.
know
It
that
was more
joke.
expensive. We
Yeah.
chose the lakebed discount instead of the Ultra4Jones discount.
Yeah.
It's an upcharge.
Yeah. Apparently, there's a premium on my zip code, I think. But
Oh man, so you're out
So,
there. The car's
we're-
feeling great.
we're going back and forth. Tyler waves me in, makes a couple turns of the bypass tubes, go back out. I'm like, oh, wow, noticeably better. This car
Really?
is
Okay, so you
yeah,
did
and
notice
that's
a
what's
change.
super cool about external bypass shocks, right? Is you don't make a couple passes, then go back to the trailer, take them off, take them apart. You're turning the tubes right now, and then you're immediately driving again. So you have like 30 seconds between.
Wow.
Like it's like going to the optometrist, A or B,
Yeah.
A or B, right? So he makes a couple turns of the tubes and sends you right back out, and right away you're like, oh yeah, it's better. And then he
Wow.
waves me, he pulls me back in again, a couple more tubes, and hit it again, and I'm like, oh wow, like this thing is coming around.
You're like,
And I
I'm
didn't
going to
even-
finish hammers.
I didn't even think it was that bad to begin with, but like you're just feeling those instantaneous results of
That's
working
cool.
with a shock tuner that can do it. So he made a change, and then I go out again, and now I'm like, I've hit these same whoops, I don't know, 6 times already, 8 times, and I'm like, the car's getting better, and I'm like, you know what? I feel like I could flat foot it through here. Like I think I'm right there, you know?
Yeah.
So I grabbed third and put it to the floor. And I mean, it's just a little baby truck motor, right? We're not talking
Right.
about this big power car or
Yeah,
anything.
1,000 horsepower.
But I held it to the floor through the section that he was working on the car in. And I was just like, this is the coolest thing I've ever done in my life. Like,
Wow.
I
Were
just,
you giggling?
oh yeah. I mean, it's the best. You're not lifting. You're barely touching the steering wheel. The car is just dancing through and across all the stuff.
Wow.
And I thought, oh man, this is as good as it gets, you know? Like, and then
Then
I
you
get
said,
past, yeah, I get past them, crank up the Carrie Underwood, you know, and she's like, Jesus, take the wheel. So took the wheel off the car, and
you just threw it out. Did you throw it out
Yeah.
the window? That's what I heard. You just threw it
Yeah.
out the front window.
yeah, turns out Carrie Underwood was full of shit.
That was when you were here there, Chris, right? When we came back into the pit, and I see the car sitting on jack stands like torn apart, and I go, this ain't right. What's going on?
Yeah,
You know?
no, I wasn't there for that. We
Oh.
saw the car that morning
Yeah,
before he went
okay,
to do shock
mhm.
tuning,
So
and
I-
I took pictures of it. You took some video for the gram
Yes.
with Kevin, and we're like, all right, and then we split to go do whatever we went to go do, and then we all
Well, I
know
went
what
trail
down.
riding,
So-
and then on the way
so
back, I stopped.
I was thinking about this. I'm like, so what was the sequence? I think Jason called me and said, "Hey, how are things going?" I'm like, "Well, we rolled the car 3 times."
Yeah,
You're like, "What?"
no,
No,
we got it bad.
not-
Yeah, I thought you were
No.
fucking with me.
no,
That's right. Jason told me they rolled 3 times. I'm like, what?
Yeah. And so I think the information came from me after you called, and then you guys made a beeline down to kind of check on things.
Yeah, it was not good, and I was like, "Holy hell! This is like the worst case." I mean, well, worst case scenario is if you got hurt, right? But
Right.
you didn't get hurt,
Yep.
so this is the next worst case scenario. The car is fucking wrecked.
Well, I'll even back that up. Worst case, which took me about 12 hours to even process, if that steering wheel had come off 100 feet, 100 yards, a pass or two before where it did, I could have easily gone into all the guys that were watching,
Oh shit!
because the car easily traveled that direction and
Mhm.
covered that ground before
You could react.
I could have gone into a crowd of people.
Oh
So
fuck!
worst case, that.
Yeah.
Second option, me getting hurt. Third option, just destroying everything I
Car's
worked 2
gone,
months
done.
to you know, put together. But
So what?
we'll-
Oh, go ahead, Chris.
Oh, I was just gonna say we saw the video
Yeah.
on the gram, and my thinking was like, "Holy shit, that's kind of scary." And obviously, I wasn't in the car, but I mean, when the wheel came off, did you like? What was your like? Did you just like mash on the brakes? I mean, or were you like, "Holy shit," you didn't know what to do, or what went down?
yeah, I mean, it's hard to say what probably actually even takes place in the time of, you know, whatever that ends up being, 2-3 seconds. But I remember my first thought was, why does the car feel funny? And then I realized the steering wheel was not attached to anything anymore. And then you have a split second where you just go, oh, F. And then you spend, I don't know, another second violently trying to put the wheel back on the
Back
car.
on the car.
And you're missing every single time. Like, and then you abandon that and you grab the steering shaft with your hand as if that's going to make a difference.
That was one of my questions.
And then the car's sideways. And I remember thinking, well, it's really low. Maybe it'll just slide. And then all of a sudden,
You were
I
cartwheeling.
was upside down. So
At least you weren't on fire.
at least I wasn't on fire.
Ricky Bobby.
Yeah.
Oh boy.
Yeah. So, it, you know, it just goes dirt, sky, dirt, sky, dirt, sky. You hear the motor rev. I don't know, just chaos, you know, for a minute. And then it comes to rest. And I've wrecked a car before, and I know if somebody's watching you, their very first concern is that, are you okay? So
Mhm.
even if there's no fire, like, you need to get out of the car,
Mhm.
if nothing else, to let everybody know you're okay. So I went to open, that car has a window net door,
Mhm.
and I went to open it, and it wouldn't open because my mirror had folded down over it. So out of like adrenaline and anger, I just punched the mirror and spun it out of the way, and then I was able to get the window open, and then I jumped out of the car. But, you know, full well knowing, just based on the chaos and the noise, like, I knew it was.
We were done.
Yeah, I was like, we're not putting the thing on its wheels and, you know, firing it up and driving away. Like, it was way too violent for that.
So
Which starts-
adrenaline's on high, and you're like, okay, and then you're starting to process this whole thing, and you get out of the car, and everybody's like, okay, no, he's okay, and then you start looking at and evaluating what's wrong. And were you done at that point? Were you like, fuck it, we're done?
Yeah, it you know, I mean, I remember one of the very first things I saw was the banana that I had turned one of the shocks into. And I
Brand
just
new
like
shock.
brand new shock, just banana, like 10 minutes later, you know. And I remember thinking, yep, that's it. Like,
We're done.
oh, we're done, you know. And there were so many people there that wanted to help and get going and all that, and you have to like pump the brakes, so to
Right.
speak, you know, and just let's just take a couple minutes, you know. Like, somebody's like, are you okay, what do you need, this and that, and I was just like, I need a beer.
Yeah, I need to
You need
process
something
this.
stronger than
I know it's 10 a.m., but I need a beer.
Yeah.
Like, I need to start, you know, getting rid of this. So I quickly, you know, I'm far too pragmatic, and I think my job teaches me to do that. My very first thought was, we're supposed to qualify. We're supposed to earn our position on the starting line tomorrow morning at 10 a.m. And I instantly went there. I was like, that
Ain't happening.
ain't happening, but that theoretically is supposed to happen. So before we make a single decision about the car, I have to go find out if I can get like an exemption. Like, will they let me skip qualifying completely and just try to fix the car? So I told all the guys, I said, carefully, which sounds so dumb considering what I just did to it, but I'm like, carefully get the car back to the garage. And
like a delicate flower.
I know. It's like, I've done enough damage. Please don't do more. And you guys get the car back, and I'm going to go see if I can find the answer to this.
Wow.
This exemption thing. So I started the process of tracking down somebody that could give me an answer, and all doors kept leading to Dave Cole.
Dave Cole.
Nobody wanted to make that decision. Race ops didn't want to. Courtney didn't want to. Like everybody just,
So what you do? Walk in, you go, "Hey, I just wrecked my car. I need to qualify tomorrow, and what do I do?"
Yeah. Yes.
Yes.
And when I finally saw Dave Cole, I like walked towards him, looking at him, and he quickly realized like, oh, this guy wants to talk to me.
Yeah.
So he, made time for me in the midst of his chaos, and I said, I need your help. I said, I'm supposed to qualify tomorrow morning at 10 a.m. to earn my starting position. I just wrecked my car, shock tuning. There's no way I could fix it by tomorrow morning at 10 a.m., but I think we can fix it by Saturday, 8 a.m. And he looked me in the eye, shook my hand, and said, just fix your car.
Wow.
So, regardless of what people say about Dave Cole or what videos you watch on the internet, the man is a true enthusiast, and he is passionate about what we're out there to do. So for me, that was like, that will always stand out in my mind as that's the Dave Cole that I want to do business with.
Right. And that's cool. And I love to hear these stories because it's easy to jump on the bandwagon of the bad side of Dave Cole or whatever. A lot of people think he's bipolar, whatever it is. But you hit the nail on the head. Passion, right? The guy has the passion to promote this race, to get racers, and he doesn't forget about the roots of the race, and you are that, right? Like the guy that's cobbling together a frickin' 4-wheel drive to go run today's toughest one-day race. And that's pretty cool. That's a cool moment, and it doesn't get publicized enough, but I'm glad you shared that with us because that's what it's all about when it really boils down to it. We don't need to know that Monster Energy and Optima batteries powering the race and all this bullshit. It really comes down to the racers. Oh, and traction by Nitto Tire. But no, but I mean, that's the world we live in. But the reality is, and that's what I think the whole, gist of this deal is that guys like you, the average Joe, can go out and put something together and go race fucking King of the Hammers. And that is the coolest freaking thing. It's still alive and well. And then to have people like Rodney and all these other people that gave up their time to be down there and help you to be part of that, me, myself, I never want to be I don't want to race. I don't like to go fast. I'm not a racer. Right. I don't know what to do with my hands. But it's cool to be part of that and to be a part of that process to get that car on the track, watch that car leave the line, and knowing that you had something to do with that. And I think that's the whole deal there is like being part of that fairy tale or whatever the fuck you want to call it. It's pretty fucking cool.
Well, Jason, not only that, once the word got out that the car was needed some work, people were in the pits, right?
That's an understatement.
I mean, Aaron Smith Off-Road was there.
Oh, AA Ron's great.
Arc Like Fab was there. Ian
Mother frickin' Johnson.
They were. I at one point, I looked up and I'm like, "Holy hell! The internet is in our shop."
That's a good analogy. Yeah, power of the interwebs.
That's what you get when you join Team Social Media Whore.
There you go.
Team 518, baby.
And it didn't take long for the word to get out that help was needed.
So the car was jacked up. Obviously, you needed a lot of work to put that thing back together. So I guess you ended up putting it on a trailer and hauling it 45 minutes to a buddy's shop.
Yeah. So the quick list was it ripped multiple suspension pivot tabs off the chassis.
Whoops.
And when that chaos happened, things became unrestrained, right? So shocks got bent. It fully compressed one CV axle in the rear, and continued to travel, and therefore blew the differential out the side of the chassis.
Not good.
Not good. So yeah, I think the tally was like 4 bent shocks, a bunch of chassis damage, including 1 bent tube in the front bulkhead. Rear diff. Help me out, Rodney. I'm trying to think. A little bit of roof damage.
All
There
my
was chassis
stickers got
damage too,
mangled.
wasn't there?
Yeah, all of Rodney's stickers got mangled. What'd you say, Chris?
There was chassis damage. I mean, actual
Yeah.
tube damage.
Yeah, there was
Yeah.
that where the lower control arm mounts on the. You can't call it a passenger side, so we were joking. We call it the starboard side.
Starboard,
Yeah, starboard.
port.
So the starboard side lower control arm tube got wiped out. So we had to cut that one.
Some bulkhead tube, right?
Yeah, we had to cut that completely out of the chassis. There were a couple other cracks. So real quickly, a guy that
poured a power and straightened the roof.
Yeah. So Willis, AZ Willis on Instagram, he's a guy I went to high school with, and we had slightly different motorsport interests back then, but I really have only kept up with him on the internet since, and it was like a weird little high school reunion. He came back and just got right to work, and he volunteered our mutual friend Tommy Trago's shop, which is just outside of Landers. And he's like, we got to take this thing to Tommy's. Because my thought was, well, we just take it apart right here and we just fix it with angle grinders and welders and generators. And he's like, nope. He's like, we got to take this thing to Tommy's. He's got a plasma table. He's got 220. He's got, a Ameribraid. He's got everything we need. And I'm like, well, does Tommy know this? And he said, Tommy doesn't have a choice.
Wow.
So it was kind of fun because the next 2 nights, we got the chassis winched on. We pulled all the. I keep on that car because it's all independent. I just call it the corners, right? So you got to take the corners off the car.
Mm-hmm.
So every pivot off the chassis on every corner, it comes. You're taking their shocks off, the CV axles, all that stuff, and you're just basically leaving the toboggan that is the chassis of the car.
Mm-hmm.
So we put the toboggan on the trailer and went to Tommy's shop and just invaded his place for like 2 nights. And it was really fun because it ended up being Willis, his buddy Logan, Johnny Branch, who was already on our pit crew, and
Chris.
And Chris and Tommy. And we just went nuts for, I don't know, a cumulative amount of 12, 16 hours or something like that. And Tommy cut all new tabs out for the chassis. They cut that tube out. One of the upper control arms got tweaked, so we made a new one of those. Like it was just kind of a whirlwind of fabrication. One of the trailing arms got really bent, so we cobbled this contraption together in the hydraulic shop press and straightened it out. And then gussets got put on all kinds of stuff, and so it was definitely the right call. It was just hard mentally for me to watch not only the car get taken apart, but also get taken different places.
Sure.
And just hope that like. I had a ton of panic about like a couple guys are like, well, I need this bolt to mock up for the tabs. And I'm just like, in my head, I'm just picturing so many things getting lost.
This is
I'm
never
like,
going back together.
I'm like, it's never going back together.
Yeah.
There's no way it's going to go back together. We got 20 people taking things in different directions. Like, but
when Kevin said, start to tear down the car, I mean, everybody just grabbed bolt bags and marked them in, right front corner, left rear shock.
Okay. So there was some organized chaos.
There was some organized chaos in there, and the crew stepped up and did a fantastic job of.
Yeah, everybody killed it. Like the people, like we had taken, an Instagram interest story that had like 21 people on the first email. And by the time we got to this group that was in the tent at this point, like we had whittled it down to the guys that really wanted to do this.
The
core group. And so like they came alive and everybody took ownership of the parts that they took off, and they cleaned them and they inspected them, and we found more cracks, and we just started prioritizing everything that we needed. And it was overwhelming for me. I'm sure Rodney saw some of that, but it was pretty crazy to see like what a small group of passionate people can get done.
At that point, you had nothing to lose, right? You're like,
Right.
okay, this is coming together. My car's going to this fab shop, which is freaking awesome, the chassis, to get rebuilt. And you're like, it is what it is at this point, right? You're like, I'm either just hanging it up and we're not racing, or this is our chance to get this car on the start line again. And it happened.
So I was really amazed. Kevin is like, we've got this differential that's just got a big chunk out of the side of it, right? and we're like, and Kevin has a spare, and he just looks at Aaron Smith and says, he's like, "What can I do, man?" And he goes, "I trust you." He goes, "I trust you. You're the only one I trust here to take this broken case and this spare case and make one unit. If we can't make one unit out of these two pieces,
we're done.
We can't hit the lake bed. We're done." And so Aaron and Josh went in the trailer. They put the bench together. They started tearing into it, and the next thing 6 hours later, he's matching gears and he's setting it up.
I went into the trailer when they were working on that, and I'm like, "Hey, Rob, what's going on?" He goes, "I'm just making this shit work."
He's in there,
and he is having fun.
Phone.
I swear to God, he had the time of his life.
Yep.
He had the time of his life. Him and Josh. Every time I saw him, they had a smile on their face, and I saw him working on like 6 different cards on the lake bed. I don't know who the hell this guy is, but he's like the magic man, right? He's making shit happen. And next thing I know, I walk into Kevin Jones' trailer because secretly I wanted some whiskey. I never got any whiskey. I never got offered any whiskey. I didn't take any whiskey. But I was like, "Oh my God, Aaron, what are you doing in here?" He goes, "Oh, I'm putting this differential back together." And he shows me the parts he had to work with, and I'm like, "Holy hell! How
much JB Weld?
How do you know about this?" And he goes, "I don't know, but this goes here, and this will work." And he did it, and he was close to putting it final stage prep, and I'm like, "Oh my God, this might work."
He had to cut that ear off.
Customize shit,
right? Right, and then. Next thing I know, I look at that and I'm like, well, that original one we had in there was a hack job compared to
Oh yeah. I mean, he did better.
God.
He did better quality work on the lake bed than whoever built the last one.
Original.
I mean, it's crazy. But and Aaron's so rad because he knows what he can get away with, but he's also crazy meticulous, and he also knows what I need to hear, and that's why we're so alike. So at one point he stops, he gets me, and he says, "Hey, I want to walk you through this." And he goes, "This is the old, this is the new, this is what I did. I drilled this hole, I cut this off, I did whatever. If you give me the thumbs up, I'm gluing it together, and
we're done.
And you got a diff." And I'm like, "Hell yeah, dude!"
Send it.
Crushed it.
So how cool is that? I mean, you met Aaron. When did you meet Aaron? A couple years ago?
Yeah. So I'll go back to it's a fun little one for me where my car was hanging from the gantry getting shock tuning in 2021, and Aaron walks by with 2 of his friends, and I hear him point, I hear him tell them, his friends, but point over to my car and go, "Oh, I follow that guy on Instagram." And so I hollered out, I'm like, "Hey, come say hi,"
Who are
and
you?
he was like,
"Yeah,
who are, I'm like, "You're just going to say that and then just keep walking, let me give you a sticker, or what's your name, or whatever." So
let me sign something.
I think back that if he didn't say that and I didn't jump in to interrupt him, I don't know. I wouldn't have the connection. I wouldn't have one of the coolest friends I've got. But see, the dude's awesome.
And that's and then that ensued to you riding right seat in his bomber car last year, crossing the finish line within time as a rookie. Him as a rookie driver. I mean, it's cool, these connections, right? And it's and the old cliche saying, "It's not what you know, it's who you know." But it is so fucking true. And especially in racing.
Absolutely.
And there's so many passionate people. And it's just like this stupid podcast right now. I mean, Rodney, Chris, and I knew each other from way back working in the golf industry. But, you were one of our first interviews, Kevin, and here we are, 4.5 years later, after we first interviewed you, and we're all good friends, and it's just super cool how this all materializes, and these trials and tribulations you went through that we were living vicariously and trying to help you and keep you sane, and it's just it's a crazy story. You can't make this shit up. You cannot make this shit up.
No, I mean, Aaron's a perfect example of why I always say, as long as I keep having positive results from doing social media, like I'll keep doing it. And I wouldn't have somebody like Aaron in my life, and I wouldn't have had a differential that day if I wasn't on Instagram. So yeah, anyway, like there's a couple things I think that happened in this time in the story. One was Aaron on the side or publicly, or I don't even remember. It's all chaos to me. He knew, whether I said it out loud or not, he knew I wanted to just drag the car in the trailer and just go home.
Yeah.
Like he knew mentally that's kind of where I was at, that this was all just so overwhelming. And he said, look, you've got the people, you've got the resources. He's like, just get the car fixed. He said, if you take it home the way it is right now, he said, you're going to go home with a busted car, a ton of credit card debt.
Yeah.
You're not going to look at the car. You're not going to work on the car. Everything in your life is going to suck. I'm paraphrasing, but he was painting me two pictures. He's like, you can go home with a fixed car, or you can go home having had the worst experience of your life, period.
Yeah.
Be the ball.
Yes.
Wow. So he's a philosopher too. I didn't know that.
Yeah. Got deep with me. And it really stuck because the thought of letting people, like, I'm like, how do we weld stuff on the car without like digital levels? And like, I'm just thinking of all the precision that I would try to add at home to get things level and square. And I'm like, we're just gonna lakebed this. Like,
we're gonna lakebed it.
Yeah, this is AK-47 shit right there, man.
Yeah, it just got it got me worried. And then the other thing that happened was, like Rodney said, the entire internet was at our camp, and I was constantly, every time I turned around, it was somebody new at the edge of the pit going, "What do you need? Like, what can I do? What do you need?" And it became part of like my rah-rah speech to the guys before we tore the car apart, was that I'm broke. I showed up broke. Not only broke, but
in
damn
debt.
near maxed out.
Yeah.
And I was like, I was worried about having enough money, not even money. I was worried about having enough credit to buy the seatbelt I needed, put the gas in the race car, and have enough gas to drive my truck home.
Yeah, like that's reality.
That was my credit. That was my credit threshold. And I was going to make expenditures on the lakebed according to that cushion or margin. So now to look at bent shocks, exploded differential, chassis repairs, like all this stuff, I was just like, financially I'm done too. Like, I don't know what the thing is. So eventually I just started telling people, I was like, I need money. And like, that hurt so hard for me to say, to get there. So I put out the blast on the internet thinking, well, if 20 people donate $20 to my Venmo, like, we can repair the shocks, and we can buy the things we need to buy, and the fluids and the parts, and, we can do this.
Keep the stream alive.
And, it took a couple days for like the full cycle to happen and me to get onto Starlink and see and log in and all that. But I was like, the promise I made to people was, if you donate, I'll write your name on the car, because I didn't have a title sponsor.
Sure.
And next thing I know, I'm scrolling through Venmo, writing all the names down on a notepad so that I can do it, like the next morning.
Mm-hmm.
And I had over 150 people.
Holy shit.
Had sent me money anywhere from, $1 to $500, like, for whatever, the overachievers, and
Chris money.
It was so humbling. And I felt even more pressure. I was like, oh my gosh, now we have to get this done. But
although Kevin, I do have to say that I saw a sense of relief and a smile come over your face after you rolled the car and what you knew you had ahead of you.
Yeah.
Like, I felt like a little bit of pressure came off of getting that car to the lakebed and getting it on the start line. I just rolled it. I don't know what's in front of me, but we're going to work toward it. And Kevin actually started like loosening up a little bit, right? Not that he was wound up too tight, but for sure, I think I noticed a little change in the attitude, and you started trusting the team more to take the car apart. And at one point, he was like, "I don't know what bolts are going in what bags. I just don't want to be looking for something." Right.
Yeah.
And so the trust took over, and so
Yeah,
more
you
power to you.
almost, it kind of changed my perspective, because previously all I've ever done, and how this one started, you bring a assembled car to the lakebed, and people that are going to help you see it for the first time ever.
Yeah.
And I spend most of my time and effort saying, don't touch that. Don't look at that. Like, don't move that. Like,
Yeah.
that has to be exactly where it is. Don't, like,
You
trying
know
to
the
keep
car.
people, I know the car, and I'm trying to keep people off of the car, right?
Mhm.
Well, this was a complete 180. I just disassembled the car in 2 3/4 rolls. So now, like, to Rodney's point, it's like, yeah, F it. Hey guys, have at it. Like,
Figure this shit out.
you can't make it any worse than I just
Right.
did. So
Right.
Well, so
Good
there
luck.
were multiple learning curves in play here. I mean, obviously you learned a lot about the car twice, and you learned, how to be, work with a team and to trust the team, and that's super important because obviously teamwork makes the dream work, right? So, and we've said it over and over and over again on the show that the off-road community is special. It really is. It's just to see people coming together to help people in need, whether, it's an accident and somebody's injured and they need to be transported back to the trailhead, or if their car's wrecked and they need to rebuild it on the lakebed. I mean, it's awesome. It's awesome.
John Webb is a perfect
Right.
example. of what happened.
Another story that parallels this
Absolutely.
one. Yeah.
you know what? I gotta stop you right there.
Okay.
A couple times people have tried to compare what I went through to what John went through, and I want to set the record straight. What we went through doesn't hold a candle, no pun intended.
No pun
to-
intended.
doesn't hold a candle to what John went through.
Right.
John literally could
He
have
almost
died.
died.
Yeah.
He
Hell
almost
yeah.
died. Did you die?
Absolutely.
No,
And
I
not
didn't
only
die.
did they fix the car, but the mother effer podiumed in the Race of Kings.
It's a
So
Phoenix.
Right.
Phoenix.
I appreciate that people think what we did was amazing, but John is my hero. I've always looked up to the guy. I don't want to take a single thing away from what that guy did. He's amazing, and so are the people that helped him and all that stuff. But
it's
Yeah.
so it's
It
a
was-
different level, right?
it was a
Whatever.
different thing. But
But there's a lot of parallels there, and there's several stories like that on the lakebed.
Yeah,
and,
sure.
good point.
and that's
Good
what
point.
I'm super. I don't know. I'm appreciative that we get to share these stories on this podcast, because these are the behind the scenes shit. People that are
Right.
driving down the road right now to work and listening to this going, holy fuck. I thought about racing. I thought about doing this, and this is like real world shit that's going on right now. And, I got a budget. I could kind of cobble a race car together, and these are the stories that come out of this. There's so many stories from the lakebed, but I get it. You don't want to compare to life and death situation with John Webb, but it's I mean, financially, mentally, physically, family, everything, monopoly that rolled into this real life board game that we're playing. This is what happened to you. And I love, it goes back to the quote unquote everyman challenge. And I love this class because These are the guys that are trying to break in that don't have, bunch of sponsors, Racing 4400, Unlimited Class. These are the guys that are just getting shit on the lake bed. Let's race our junk and let's have fun. And unfortunately, the fun was taken out several times on your experience on this go around. But the takeaway is, right, and we've said it a few times on this podcast. It's like, how cool is the community you have built, right? Like the friendships, the people through IG that are like, hey, I'm good at electrical. Hey, I'm good at this. I got a friend with a shop in Yucca Valley that we can take our shop to, your car to, and fix it. I mean, without all those resources, I mean, if you were trying to do this in 1980, it never would have happened, right? And here we are in 2024, and to get all this culmination to happen.
Oh man, you're thinking wrong. Jeff Spicoli would have stepped up with a rad set of tools, dude.
My father's a TV repairman. He can fix his shit. So yeah, you're right. That's a good analogy, Chris. So anyways, it's just super cool to this journey. I am sorry you went through this journey. I God bless you. This is stupid, but holy hell, the end result. So let's talk about that. So your car gets put back together, and I saw you on race day, 4400 day, my favorite day. You're lining up 116th or 117th in Hammertown, and I seen the emotion, right? Like Rodney saw it more, but we talk a lot, and you were like, dude, I don't know. And yeah, this worked out. I got so-and-so working on this. But you were just pretty even keel on Saturday morning for the race day. Like, we're here. I don't even know what the fuck just happened in the last, 72 hours, but we're here. So walk us through that of like, you're in a car that you didn't think you were going to be in a car lining up for KOH 2024 4400 race.
Yeah, I've started a couple races in my life dead last, and not just like car, but like I can picture a couple motorcycle ones that we got to the track late and literally like jumped on the track half a lap behind people, or maybe like a foot race or something like that. And
Sure.
There's this really kind of unique feeling about like, man, there's nowhere to go but up. So like, how could you even have pressure on yourself if you're literally starting dead last? Like, just try to just take it all in, and whatever comes to you, like, that's what happens. And I mean, this one, I make it a point every KOH to try to see every single race mile of the course. And not only does that never happen, but this year I didn't see 1 mile of the race course.
Wow.
Like, the adventure that I was going to embark on was, like, I had no idea. Like, I had no idea what adventures I was going to have. Like,
they call that going into it blind.
Yeah. Do I know Johnson Valley a fair amount? Yeah, sure. But it was so exciting to me to just be like, I have no idea what's out there, and we're just going to go find out. And I'm going to face every challenge one at a time and see how it goes. I didn't think the very first one would be in Turkey Claw, but,
here we are.
Parking lot. But
so you get in the car. I mean, there had to be some sort of relief, or I don't know what to describe it. Like, you line up on the line and you take off the start line with a car that you spent 2 months
twice.
Your life.
Yeah,
you built twice. Very well said, Chris. You built freaking twice.
Hey, but every time it got built, every time somebody put something back together, we had the motto, make it better than it was before.
Yeah, no, for sure.
And that happened time and time again.
So I want to know,
every time something came off.
It was like our version of Build Back Better,
What was going through your mind at that start line as you're creeping up, right? You're watching all these people take off. I mean, 4,400 class, right?
Yeah.
Like all these people are, I'm going to say idols of yours that you know and recognize, that badass race teams going off in front of you, and you're sitting at the back and creeping up to the start line, and then you get waved up to the start line and get the green flag. What's going through your head?
I kept wondering, like, man, I wonder if those extra bolts are important. Like, I wonder what.
Did Rodney tighten that shit
I
up?
wonder where those were supposed to be, and I
How did
don't know if
these get
they're
in there?
important. Yeah.
Was everything painted? That
Yeah.
was important. Was
Everything
everything
good?
painted?
Yes, it was.
I mean,
Yeah.
I was honestly just so chill because, like, I mean, what do I have to lose? Like,
You're like,
what
this is whatever's happening.
I felt like we pulled off the impossible,
Right.
damn near twice, you know.
Right.
So it was just like whatever. And then I remember watching as I was creeping up. One of the rookies that was racing 4,400 that I've been following online, they rolled the car in the very first turn.
Right.
Yeah.
And I just thought, okay, well, it could always be worse. Like I could do that, you know? So I made a point to, like, let's just get out of Hammertown and just, you know, I don't need to beat the guy next to me. I don't need to do nothing. I just need to drive away. So that,
I mean,
that was kinda what I
honestly-
set off for.
Did
Go
JP
ahead,
Gomez
Rodney.
start in front of you? Or
Everybody.
Well, yeah,
Everybody-
JP Gomez
everybody.
started
Everybody.
99th.
The only person that didn't start in front of me was Brian Cross,
Oh, right.
because he wasn't going to start at all.
He was sick or something, right?
His back hurt. So he was literally a contingency plan for the family if they needed to run parts, and that's what he ultimately ended up doing. But yeah, I was the last car in the grid.
But honestly, I mean, through all this turmoil and chaos, the victory was you starting the race. Actually,
Hell
I mean,
yeah.
there had to be some
Yeah,
sort of
for sure.
relief of like, holy shit, this is happening. Because in all reality, you should have been driving home. You know, in your
well, we had goals, right?
yeah.
Right. Kevin had goals entering this race, and it would be great to finish, but I think our goals were a little less than that.
Well, they
So,
kept changing, right?
We had reality.
It's
Right.
it yeah.
we knew we had to beat the mileage
But
the
Yep.
car ran before.
Yeah.
So you talk about the goals. So yeah, let's make that statement right now very clear, because I know talking to Kevin early on, he's like, I want to start the race and I want to go more than 14 miles, right? Or whatever
It was
the car went
originally, because I've had conversations with the guy that raced it in 2018. I had a conversation with his mechanic then, and for some reason in my head I thought it went 6 miles, but then I got clarification later that it went 11 or 12 miles
Okay.
in 2018. So I said, hey, let's do a lucky 13. Let's
Yeah.
get this car, because in 2016 when the builder brought it out, it didn't make LCQ and he took it home. In 2018 it didn't make LCQ. He used a different driver of records entry to get it across the start line, and then it went 11 or 12 miles. And so I was like, let's get it 13 miles. And every mile after that will just be
bonus.
Gravy.
bonus. And it sounded easy. In my head, I'm like, oh, we got 13. Like, no big deal. Well, little did I know, like, the car only really had like 13 in it. So that's
Yeah,
like the end of this story, I guess. But
Well, I mean, so you got through the rock trail, Turkey Claw, right? The wad
Yeah,
that
so
was
I-
going on there.
I came around the corner into Turkey Claw, and it was just a parking lot. I mean,
Right.
2 dozen cars in front of me. I could see tires up in the air up ahead. I knew something was upside down. So that I just waited. I took my
That
phone
was-
out. I took a picture. Like, you know, I've been in these traffic jams. If I had a co-driver, I would send him out to go up help. But as the driver, I'm not going to get out of my car just to
Mhm.
go up there when there should already be a dozen guys doing it. So I just waited, and sure enough, like, I don't know what it was, 5 minutes, 10 minutes, whatever. It cleared up. I got a shot at the line, and there was a staff guy that clearly recognized me, and he gave me the big thumbs up as I kind of wiggled my
That's
way through
cool.
there, and then got out of Turkey Claw and crested that big hill and got to the bottom of that, and then put it in high range. And as I kind of went out into the desert, like, somebody talked, was it Jason Shear when he was saying like about his single seat days? He's like, nobody's there to share those experiences with you. Like, I straight up had an emotional moment in the car, like getting over that hill in high range and hitting open desert. Like, it definitely kind of like came over me that like holy shit, like
this is
I felt like 2 months just kind of like flushed out of me, you know? And
Zen.
yeah, just like, man, it just felt so good to have a ton of that shit just behind me.
Like you felt like a weight came off your shoulders.
Yeah, you know. So I put the car in third gear and just started driving, and like not even just super chill, like just Sunday drive in the desert, or Saturday, I guess.
Saturday. Well, hold on now. I want to kind of go back to Turkey Claw. I mean, once you were in the rocks, I want to know. Chris
likes that trail.
How the car felt in the rocks is correct me if I'm wrong, but that's the only rock trail you saw, right?
Correct. Yeah.
So how did it feel?
Thanks, Chris.
Thanks, Chris. That's very nice. Yeah.
But I want to know how you felt compared to your old car, how you felt the car handled the rocks.
The car handled real good.
It was nice. I don't know what to do with my hand.
It, you know, the biggest thing that stood out to me, because not only was that the only trail I ran, but that was the only thing I ever did in the car before the race. So like the night before, when we had the car back together, I was like, hey, I think EMC course is cold. Let's go over to Turkey Claw and just see what the car's even like in low range. Like I'd never even put it in low range, you know, like in the terrain. So in practice and in the race, I ran Turkey Claw a total of probably 4 times. And the thing that stood out to me, the obvious is like the car's low, right? It hits on a lot of stuff. But the thing I wasn't expecting is
kind of like a 95 Jeep Wrangler.
Yeah. The fully independent suspension it's taking those corner ups and downs so well that you don't get that side to side kind of whiplash, like head whip, that you get in a solid axle car, as it just bounces left and right and left and right. So the thing that stood out to me the most was how flat and straight ahead you just keep going and stay. It lifts one tire way up in the air and the other one droops out, but like you just stay flat. And that was pretty cool. I didn't really expect that by any means. But it was a welcome kind of thing that as you're driving through those like nuisance rocks, it's way more comfortable because it's not pitching you side to side, I guess is a good word. So, but it's low. I mean, that car is low. Like there's no two ways about it. And from the little bit of driving I did, you realize you better pick lines that put the tires way high, like awkwardly high, because you need to add clearance to the bottom of that car everywhere you can.
Do you feel like you could take stupid off camber lines with that thing?
Absolutely. Yeah. I was, not having pre-run, but if I was going to pre-run, certainly my race strategy was going to be all the off camber bypasses that always used to scare me in the old car. No problem. Just wall ride those things like all day. Cause that
wall ride.
I mean, this car is 3 to 4 inches wider than the old car. And it's like a couple feet lower, like overall.
Lower, yeah.
I mean, overall, we called the old car a treehouse for a reason.
Yeah.
I was expecting you to say a couple feet longer, not lower.
No. It's only the wheelbase is only like 3 inches longer than the old car, but it's way more like a square, really. It's because it's wider, it's not real long, and then it's just crazy low. So I knew that if I got to the rock trails that had bypasses, those were going to be my jam for sure.
When did you decide to go to 40s instead of the Mickey Thompson 37s?
So I guess that was a premonition. When I signed the Mickey Thompson contract for 24 and they said, hey, we're going to ship you your tires. I said, hey, can I get a few of each? Can I get some 37s and some 40s? And he's like, yeah, no problem. And I said, I just don't know what I'm going to do with this car. And I'd like to have the option. So when we were shock tuning and wrecked, I was on 37s, the DOT. And then because I didn't get any time to rock pre-run, I didn't have any time to learn how to drive the car. We're like, screw it. We need everything we can get. I'll take that extra 1.5 inches of ground clearance, and we put the 40s on the car. And I think it's good and bad. I think that's a lot of tire for that car because it's so small and so light that it felt like the 40 in the desert. It felt like the tires were in control. Whereas with the 37s, I felt like I was still telling the car what to do. But, you know, there were also things like when we welded the car back together, like we didn't get an alignment on it. Like there's things we probably didn't get exactly right. I think somebody pointed out way after the race. They're like, oh, look at that. That one's got a lot more camber in it, you know? And it's just like, we didn't have time to pull tape on anything. So we were just stoked that all 4 tires were facing the same direction, you know? So yeah, I ended up starting the race or racing the race on 40-inch Sticky Mickeys.
Wow.
Yeah.
So getting out there and literally like minimal seat time on the car, not knowing what it does and everything, and you're just like, I'm just gonna freaking drive this thing as long as I can. And so you get over Turkey Claw, you said, and you're like, okay, this is pretty freaking cool. We're racing 4,400 days Saturday, KOH 2024, and you're heading out into the desert, and then what happened?
The car I started next to, the 187 of Kenneth Hale. I don't know him, but I know his navigator, Donnie Kellenbeck.
Oh, okay.
And I know Donnie is a very experienced KOH racer. So my strategy right away was I'm going to follow them because I know Donnie knows how to do this.
Not going to get lost.
Yeah, I know he knows how to do this. I know he knows where he's
ride.
Yeah, I was like, he knows where he's going. He knows how to race KOH. Like, whether Donnie knows it or not, he's my navigator today too.
Right on.
And I did that for like, I don't know, 10 miles or something.
Wow. Okay.
And then I was just so bored. I was so bored. That car is so effortless to drive in the desert. And I felt like I was not only being conservative, but I was being like wasteful. I was like, man, I'm just going like so slow. So it opened up into like 3 lanes, and I just kind of pulled out into one of the other lanes, and I didn't even like drop the hammer or not. I just added like 5 miles an hour and cruised up next to him, gave him kind of the fist pump in the air, like, let's go, boys.
This fist pump?
No.
Wow.
Chris, you never know who you need help from later in the day.
Yeah,
so
you don't
like,
burn bridges.
Yeah,
Chris.
you don't burn bridges racing KOH.
No.
So I just slowly started to pull away, and man, I bet you I didn't get 100 yards past them, and the car just nosed over, starts shooting ducks, and I'm just like,
ducks.
Man. So I pulled way off course because I didn't want to get hit by, you know, a Gomez on lap 2 or something.
Oh, Jesus.
So I pulled way out of the way, and I get out of the car thinking that I'm going to find like melted plug wires or something. I was like, the car was just, it was running really bad.
Not happy.
And as soon as I get out, I hear the radiator cap just full tea kettle mode, just full whistle. And steam's coming out the overflow. Yeah. And I'm like, oh man, I cooked it. Like, and then all of a sudden it hit me. I was like, this is why the car DNF'd in 2018.
Yeah.
And I'm
radiator.
like, it has a sideways radiator.
Rodney, you had one job.
So
you didn't wire the fan, did you, Rodney?
So Kevin's gonna finish on this, but when we got radio back to the pits at Remote Pit, we're like, okay, let's build a shroud. Let's build a removable shroud.
Out of cardboard or what?
No, Kevin had some drawers in his toolbox. Plastic.
Yeah, and I think Chris was going to take the Lexan window out of the Suburban.
He did.
Hilarious.
He took the Lexan window out of the Suburban.
Oh my God.
We were ready.
How cool is that?
Kevin to make it to Remote Pit.
What's funny is when they told me that later, I said, I knew it. I knew as soon as I said I was overheating that you guys would be building a scoop.
Figuring out something.
And I didn't know if I would show up and it would be cardboard or sheet metal or like what? I just hoped it wasn't something I cared about.
Tupperware.
Yeah.
Going full fucking Andromeda stream out
Right.
there.
But so I just,
Lee was there. He would have 3D printed something.
Right. Yeah.
Yes,
I think he has a 3D printer in his cruiser.
Yep.
I don't doubt it.
No.
So I just went into like damage control of like, okay, well, what can I do? So obviously I had to let the car cool down a little bit, pulled a body panel or two off.
Point it into the wind.
Yeah, I turned the car. There was literally
into the wind.
Yeah, there was literally like a really strong crosswind. So I turned the car around so that it would at least get that crosswind through the radiator to like cool it off a bit. And then like I took my Camelback out. I had a liter of water in my Camelback, so I dumped that in the car. I'd learned, because we've filled the car twice with coolant, that you have to pull vacuum on the steam port to burp the system. So I gave the steam port mouth to mouth and took a mouthful of coolant. And then didn't have any water to flush my mouth out with because I already poured it all.
Yeah, antifreeze is not good.
It's really sweet.
Holy shit.
And then I don't know if I did anything I had another radiator cap with me, so I put that on. I hot wired the fan. That way it just wouldn't thermostatically come on and off.
Yeah.
And then I took off and I made it like maybe a mile, and I was like, okay, yeah, maybe. And then same thing, it nosed over. So that's when I kind of realized like, okay, this is definitely limp mode. So there's got to be a threshold in the computer when the coolant temp gets so high that it just pulls all the timing out of the car, makes it run like dog shit, and then whatever. So I started doing this thing of like, okay, well, I could shut the car off, fire it up again, and move it until it goes into limp mode. And like every time I did that, the distance got shorter. So I went a mile, then I went like half a mile, then I went like a couple football fields, then I went like 100 yards, and then I went like 100 feet. And I was just
at this point, you knew your day was done.
Well, I'm at race mile 19, and I'm not going to get any pit help until mile 37.
Right.
And so I'm like, okay, what can I do to get there? And I'm thinking like, I'm going to hit a time cutoff if I keep nursing the car. But I gave it one more try to go for a drive, and that's when the throttle cable stuck wide open. So not only had I gotten the car hot, but I had obviously gotten the throttle cable so hot that it melted.
Oh my God.
And so the throttle sticks wide open, and I kill the car, and I'm just like, okay, so now I'm at race mile 19. I have no control of the throttle, and I have no coolant. But
you met your goals.
It killed me. And then the final nail in the coffin was I had radio connection with Pitt. So instead of being somewhere where nobody knew where I was by myself, like, hoping for the best and all that stuff, I just I sat in the car for, I don't know, 10 minutes or something, and kind of like just gathered my thoughts. But I ultimately just told the guys, I was like, I'm retiring the car.
We're done. Yeah.
And I can only imagine, like, Rodney can speak to it, I'm sure, but I can't imagine. I've been on the other end. I've been in the pit crew.
Right.
That's the worst thing to hear over the radio.
Your horse is out of the race.
Your horse is out of the race.
Your horse is out of the race. You lost your money. Do not collect. Go and
Yeah.
So Rodney,
I had the binoculars. I was looking for the dust cloud. And I was like, well, it looks like a white car, but no, it's not Kevin. So yeah, we had remote pit all set up. We had tools out. Team was there.
Shroud built.
Fuel was ready to go in the car. Shroud was ready. We had planned on, well, if we make it to the pit, let's just, we'll just take our time, right? So it was about putting miles on the car in a race situation. So, as much as we could.
But I gotta imagine, I mean, through all this roller coaster ride as a quote unquote pit crew, Team 518, you guys had to be elated that car even hit the start line, and then everything else was gravy, right? Like, I mean, you wanted him to finish the race, right? That would have been the ultimate
fucking
Hollywood story.
Yeah, just making the lakebed to begin with. and then having catastrophe happen
Yeah.
and chaos, and then rebuilding the car again. I mean, I'm so happy for Kevin. He had the parts in the trailer that we had to put together and assemble to get the car back on the lake bed again. Where did you get the other differential, Kevin? Did it come with right? Why?
It's crazy. Like, you think about some of those things, and like, of all the things that I had for the car and all the things I didn't own, the fact that I had a differential still kind of blows my mind, like that literally is the only reason we were able to do it, because that differential is so highly modified coming out of a Chevy truck to go into that car. Like, for us to take one from a junkyard and try to do what we did, like, I don't think we had that time window. But I mean, the answer is the car came with that diff, and I remember thinking, like, what am I ever going to do with this thing?
Don't need.
We broke the stub shafts.
Yeah,
we broke the stub shaft. We had to go get a new stub shaft.
Yep.
Like 2 hours each way.
Yep. Yeah. The hurdles we overcame were pretty amazing, and the people that volunteered their time and money and stuff to make it happen. Like, it's still a whirlwind. Like, to me, like, randomly throughout the day, I'll think about, like, oh, where did this come from? Like, I never even saw that take place. Like, I know it happened, but like, when and like who? Like, there's just it was so much I couldn't even keep track of it.
What? Yeah, I can't even imagine. Reflecting back on this as you going, I can't even believe with it. I mean, if somebody had written this script, right, like a Hollywood script, and said, okay, this is going to happen, this is going to happen, and you're going, no, I'm not signing up for this. This is not happening. But it happened. This is a reality. And all these people contributed to this. I mean, you look back on this event and go, holy crap. And like we alluded to earlier in this podcast, I mean, this sets you up in the future for like adversity, right? Like, you met the most crazy adversity, minus loss of life. Thank God.
Shit.
But
say that.
It's freaking it's like anything that goes on in the future at KOH for you is like, that's fucking nothing. You're just going to wave it off as like, oh no, we got this. I got so-and-so. I know so-and-so through this IG post and stuff. I mean, how cool is that to be in that position now?
Yeah. I don't want to say that I'm glad it happened, but I am great. I'm grateful for what it taught me. And it taught me and reinforced things like, I can't do this by myself. It taught, like, it showed me the power of the internet. It showed me, like, God's grace that I didn't hurt anybody. That I got to learn the value of how important it is that your steering wheel stays connected to your race car.
Right. And
all it cost was money. It didn't cost any personal damage to myself or anybody else. Like, a steering wheel only falls off a race car for a racer once, right?
Yeah,
like,
it ain't happening again.
That ain't happening again.
Any mistake happens once, as far as a racer is concerned, or anybody that.
Well, you learn from
you should learn from your mistakes.
So I mean, I have to just whatever it's been, a couple weeks or whatever, I have to reflect back that I wouldn't wish this on myself or anybody else, but I'm very grateful for the lessons that it's taught me. I'm grateful for the people that it's brought into my life. I'm grateful for, just being able to be in a position to learn from stuff like this. Like,
well, and how validating is that, right? Like, I mean, for people to step up after this accident happened, I mean, your race was done. Your race was done when you freaking rolled the car. And to have all these people step up behind you and have that support, I mean, that's pretty freaking cool. And you got to be proud of what you created. I mean, people will, you got your haters, right? Everybody's got their haters and going, oh, well, this is stupid. And, you're throwing good money at bad and all this stuff. But at the end of the day, how many friends and relationships and cool experiences have you got to have through this whole process? And it's like, dude, it's unfucking believable. It's just, yeah, I can't put it into words, man.
Holy shit, he's at a loss for
Well,
words.
it is. It's pretty fucking cool, right?
It's mind-boggling, Jason.
We talk to a lot of racers, right? Like well-funded racers on this podcast, and people that think they're well-funded racers, like but they're not. And this is the epitome of KOH, and it's fucking awesome.
There's more than that. I mean, thinking back to the days when we met Kevin Jones for the first time, meeting him for the first time on the internet when he was wrenching on his junk in the garage, and he responded to a post or whatever it was. But I mean, the day we met him at Wild West Motorsport Park, and we followed the trail of tranny fluid to his pit. Right? I mean, it was like, and we knew, I think something resonated at that point in time. Right. This guy doesn't, I mean, he had given, the race was over for him at that point. He didn't have, I don't think you had a spare tranny at that point. Your case was blown. Yeah. You were done. But I mean, you could see you didn't want to quit, but you were like, let's go to the camper. Let's record a podcast. And that's what we did. We indulged in a few adult beverages.
27 podcasts later.
Mm-hmm.
Right. So, I mean, this is awesome stuff. I mean, I'm glad you weren't hurt during the rollover. I'm glad that you were able to, you and your team were able to rebuild the car, not once, but twice, once at your house in Pismo or in the Pismo area. And then the second time, at on the lakebed at King of the Hammers. And obviously you didn't succeed in finishing the race. You DNF, which sucks, but I do know that
his goals.
But your tenacity and the fact that your history of researching, I mean, thinking back to your days in the early days when you raced at Ridgecrest and the times you finished at King of the Hammers in the old car, I mean, we know that you do the research, and when the car is dialed in, you're going to spend the off season putting that car back together, getting it at 100%. You're going to do your research. You're going to show up on the lakebed in 2020. Holy shit, 2025. Wow. And you're gonna kill it, man. It's gonna be freaking awesome.
I've already signed up for the 2025 VIP.
Oh, you have the VIP experience? Does that cost money now? I want to know. What is this VIP 2020?
You're giving up your position in Upper Hammertown Heights. Is that official then?
That's official.
Out of the retirement HOA. We're going to sell your spot, Rodney, because it's worth a lot of money. We can make Chris and I can make $700 on your spot.
Somebody's going to have to pay my
back. I thought it was $7.
I think based on Aaron Smith's experience, you could probably sell it to him. I
God!
I think he's done.
I am
he's
bringing
not over
Aaron
50.
Smith.
He's a young buck.
Yeah, he's a wreck wheeler for life.
That's right.
He was having
Aaron
too much
Smith
fun,
is welcome in our camp anytime. That guy's fucking badass.
He spent a fair amount of time in our camp. I will say that
he did. He was everywhere. He was in everybody's camp.
Everywhere.
I don't know anywhere he didn't see. Every video and photo I see on IG, there's Aaron Smith in the background.
It's not like you're going to kick the guy out, right?
No.
I mean, he's the nicest guy on earth.
He's a hell of a guy, for sure.
This is awesome. I mean, so looking back on this now, Kevin, this whole fucking experience, this experience, right, this year, I'm not talking about your whole KOH experience, but being a seasoned, knowing Johnson Valley, race there a few times, cross the line as a finisher, and then going through this whole process, would you do it again? Would you do it again, knowing what you know right now with this car? Would you have signed up and said, "Oh yeah, I'll take on all that bullshit. I'll do this again"? Where is your mind at right now? What? I mean, looking back on this. Financially, emotionally, mentally, therapist. What?
No, I feel like it was on a really corny recruitment T-shirt that the Marines put out, but it's like, pain is temporary. It's so true. Like, you forget how tired you were. You forget how bad your hands hurt. You forget like how painful things in life are, and all you're left with are the stories, and your brain is just wired to remember the good stuff.
Yeah.
Like, because if you remembered how much everything sucked, you'd never have a second child. Like, like you would never have a second child. But you forget, right? And then you're like, oh, we should do this
Chris
again.
had 3.
Yeah. See,
Yeah, Chris screwed that up 3 times.
So I've already forgotten how much it hurt. And all I'm left with is these awesome memories and these stories. And like I was saying, I think for a couple months there, like basically this whole process, I was like, every epic story was once just a dumb idea.
Yeah.
And I was hoping the epic story had a little bit more race miles in it.
Right.
But it's still like the people that I got to share this with and what I got to learn about myself and others, and this car and experience a whole new thing. I wouldn't trade it. And Mallory would hit me upside with the frying pan if she heard me say right now, I can't wait to do it again.
Yeah.
But I'm just built for it.
Yeah.
I just wanted to.
How cool is it? You're going to be sitting in your rocking chair at the retirement community at 90 years old telling these stories, right? Like, these are the stuff you just can't make up, the experiences and stuff. You're living life, and that's freaking awesome, man. And yeah,
it's
Mallory,
retirement community called Hammertown Heights.
Yeah, right. And it is just, the support of your family is incredible. I mean, all the stars have aligned for you to make this happen, and people like Rodney that step up and go, yeah, I'll fucking take some extra days off and help you put this dream together.
I was just one of many.
I know, but
many people who came.
But why? What motivated you, Rodney? Like, what? I mean, I know Kevin's a friend, but it's like, What
I think
made this happen?
was the story. It was the story that he
Right?
was putting out every day, 5, 8 posts a day, going through who's showing up, who's working on it. I'm just like, dude, I got a couple extra days. I'm not doing anything. I would just be up there drinking whiskey with you guys and eating food and
enjoying the lake,
taking a nap.
enjoying the fireworks.
Why not stay up till 3 a.m. every night and get up at 6? And
were you guys the ones firing off the big
fireworks? Were the fireworks any quieter down in Hammertown?
No. I'm pretty sure the big bombs came from the Ultra4Jones camp, just to let everybody know we're still fucking up, motherfuckers. Building
it takes a fireman to know about bombs, right?
Yeah.
No, I mean,
I can't tell you how many times I was about to check out and go hit my camper.
Yeah.
And then and Kevin's like, I thought you said you were retiring. Like, well, you guys aren't. So
you guys are still working. So
yeah,
that's awesome.
I mean,
absolutely awesome. I just want to let you know that I sold the script to Michael Bay, so there's a movie coming out. Tom Cruise is going to play. Tom Cruise is Kevin Jones, and Jason Green is going to be played by. Who's Jason Green going to be played by? I don't know. Sean Penn, maybe. I don't know.
Bill Murray.
And Rodney's going to be played by what's the guy from
Kevin
Up in
Spacey?
Smoke?
Oh. He's gonna be. What's that?
I don't know.
Cheech and Chong. They'll be both Cheech and Chong.
We didn't even get into Rodney's new nickname, but I think based on his explosion on that employee, I think he needs to be played by like Samuel L. Jackson or something.
What's his nickname?
Mother effing Rodney.
Oh, mother effing Rodney. All right.
No,
all right.
I didn't explode on anyone. I just walked the guy through what needed to happen before he sent someone 2 hours each way to go get this part.
Boy. Oh, boy.
And the poor AutoZone guy.
So did you say what one more time?
Yeah.
No,
Is that
I just said
Kahuna bird?
what I need you to do is pull this stub shaft out of the box, put it on your counter, spline side down, and I need you to measure with the tape measure from the counter to the top of the mounting surface. He was like, I don't have a tape measure. I said, you sell tape measures, don't you?
Say you don't have a tape measure one more time.
Say a tape measure one
And
more
I
time,
was very,
motherfucker.
very calmly, I asked him, I said, you sell tape measures.
Oh,
Can you go
wow.
get one? And I heard the phone hit the counter and motherfucker.
Say tape measure one more time.
No, this is good. I
That's
mean,
awesome.
so I think the name of this podcast, Chris, should be Tenacity. What doesn't kill you makes you stronger. I think that's the fucking
Or
moral of the
tenacity and
story.
tape measures.
Yeah,
So
tenacity
Jonestown's
and
out?
tape measure.
Jonestown, I
No,
thought
don't put
was-
Jonestown.
No,
That's
I
gonna
don't-
put us on the
no.
blacklist.
Yeah, I don't
That's
think
not gonna
that's
be
a good idea.
Not going to be good. But I
I was
mean,
thinking
how cool?
optometrist A or B, but okay.
How cool is this? And the community you've built, Kevin, and this whole, holy crap. When you started this whole journey, I mean, not in your wildest dreams this would have ever occurred. But so let's talk about future. So
Okay, sure.
where does this set you up from now forward? Where's your mindset? What's going on?
And
What do you-
Is this car
happens to
is
the
this car going to get melted
What
down?
happens
What's
to this
happening?
car?
Yeah. Well, I think
Vegas to Reno, baby.
the first thing worth saying is like you talk about like, oh, did you ever think? Well, there's no inflation in my head because I'm as broke today as I was 5 years ago when I started
Right.
this. So it's not like I've actually gotten anywhere, you know.
Mhm.
But no, I had no idea. Like, I always think back to how excited I was about having 147 people follow me on Instagram,
Mhm.
and this year I'm looking at eclipsing like 10,000, which will just be cool because I'll have like a K behind a number,
Right.
But no, like my instant like, okay, what's next is the 150 plus names on the side of the car. They deserve, and Rodney and Chris and Roger and Lee and Zach and Tony and
Brian,
everybody, my
Brian,
dad and
yeah.
Brian and it just all the names, all the people. They all deserve more than 19 miles.
Yeah.
So my very first thought is, like I put on IG, I'm like, they are my title sponsor for the rest of the year. Like hands,
Yeah,
like
that's
no
cool.
question. So those names are staying on those panels on that car, throughout the year.
Is that a monthly subscription?
OnlyFans.
Asking
Only
for a
racers.
friend.
Yeah, I got your credit card. It's on auto
Yeah,
renewal. Don't worry about it.
It's just
Yeah,
gonna
don't
hit
worry about it.
every
You won't
month.
even notice. You won't even notice it.
Just like the PayPal thing I get
Yeah.
from Chris and Jason.
Right,
and-
right, exactly. Just this monthly charge. That's the key to
Holy
life.
cow.
Obviously, everybody's been kind of watching the Ultra4 series get ironed out through that transition of ownership and all that stuff. And at first it was going to be like, oh, Silver State 300's part of it. And now it's like, oh, Vegas to Reno's part of it. A race like either of those interests me way more than going to NorCal and just smashing my car into a K-rail.
Yeah.
Jesus.
So, tell me it doesn't happen. Like,
Well, that's true, but it's okay.
Yeah.
it's a spectator's race.
Well, it's short course, and that's
Yeah.
that's it's a smash and bash, no doubt.
Open wheel cars should not be racing wheel to wheel. That's my personal opinion.
Truth.
Nothing good happens when open wheel cars make contact. Unless you're a
Spectators
spectator.
love that
Unless you're a
stuff, though.
spectator or a photographer, nothing good happens. So anyway, I am going to find some desert race or two to do this year. I still haven't unloaded. I always say I have to come home and lick my financial wounds. I have to reconnect with my family. Thanks to the donations, the financial wound is less than normal. My family is in a pretty good place, so that's great. But I still haven't unloaded the car from the trailer. I don't know if I just need a radiator and a better cooling system or if I hurt the motor. So if I didn't hurt the motor, you'll see the car in some testing content, hopefully soon. If I did hurt the motor, then we're opening up a whole can of worms that, is going to set me back another month or two or whatever. But there's a couple races that I have my eyes on this year. But I won't sign up for a race until I can figure out how to keep the car cool at speed when that sideways
important.
radiator is doing weird sideways radiator things. And I think it's totally doable. I talked to the builder of the car, and it didn't always overheat. So we both agree that some changes have probably taken place over the years of ownership that have led to some bad air path type things. So I'm going to work with him on getting that figured out. And then, whether it's a race or content creation, I mean, that car deserves to be in the dirt doing cool car things. So,
well, for sure. And I mean, I know, speaking for myself, I mean, seeing your content, well, I mean, here we are. I'm going to be full disclosure. I have signed off of Instagram. The King of the Hammers is over. I've logged out. But I will say, loser, right? I will say that your content was incredible leading up to King of the Hammers. I was thrilled to see it all happening. And, but maybe I'll log back in, but I need to decompress from that action. But, I want to see you back on the dirt. I want to see you racing. I want to see you having fun, because that's where you're at, and where you're at your best. And, what are you guys doing?
We're making confetti and blood.
You guys are nuts.
We're activating the Chinese software.
So I guess these guys, with the newer MacBook Pros or whatever, they can make the camera do. Look at fireworks!
Oh my God! Look at fucking Rodney right
now. It's like King of the Hammers.
It's like King of the Hammers, absolutely. So
orders are going off.
I feel like I'm on Chocolate Thunder.
Look at him!
What the hell? His head's disembodied. That's
man.
So
good luck, Chris.
This is why people want the podcast on YouTube.
Yeah,
right?
we know, right?
This right here.
Anyway, but yeah, Instagram is definitely where you're at, and I it's fun to watch. It was incredible to watch the build up to King of the Hammers, and I wish I had known the full story before today. If I had known you were struggling for cash to get home, I would have given you my credit card to get home.
Wow, look at that.
Chris money?
Seriously, literally. I would have I've been like, dude, to get you home, here's my credit card for gas.
Oh my God.
I didn't, but I was disconnected. I was up in Upper Hammertown Heights, living the retirement life up there.
Why don't you stop by the yacht club when you're done?
But I know you need to get back to reality and work to pay off the bills. But I'm super excited to see what's going to happen with you for the rest of the. So speaking of that, I know that Dave Kolb made a post regarding some things happening with Ultra4. And the race schedule that's happening, anything in there excites you or whatever, or no?
I mean, that was kind of what I was alluding to with the Silver State or V2R. So the only stuff in the schedule that I would even consider right now, as of the release schedule from a couple days ago, is there's NorCal Stampede. So the race I just kind of bashed,
right. Prairie City. Yep.
It's on the schedule. I could sign up for that. I guess I gotta look at what that costs, and it's certainly the closest thing to me, probably 6 hours away. The other one is Vegas to Reno, which is incredibly logistic, intensive.
We've got the Reno portion covered.
Yeah, I'll cover the Reno portion. I'll help you out there.
I think that goes right through Jason's backyard.
Yeah, it goes right through my backyard.
He'll be drunk by the time we get there, but
that's okay. I'll still help you.
Truth hurts.
So yeah, there's V2R that would be
your wine.
Yeah, V2R would be epic for sure, and then the other one is the Nora 1000 down in Baja.
That's
but again,
insane.
To race for a week, and that one's coming up end of April. I don't have the bandwidth.
That's crazy
yeah,
expensive too.
Yeah.
The
You got to
logistics.
figure out the cooling thing.
Yeah.
That's a lot of fagizzy.
Yeah, that would be super cool. Like racing the San Felipe race a couple years ago was definitely like super, super fun. But that one's going to take a little bit more notice, a little bit more legwork. Probably even honestly start with, even though it's outside of, quote, the Ultra 4 series, is the Nora 500 in October.
Mm-hmm.
And like Scott Lesage has a lot of experience with that from his friend group. So even probably getting warmed up on like a smaller scale one to figure out how to do like a multi-stage rally race in Baja would be smart. But that car's fun in the desert. I thought with the short wheelbase, it would be not as fun, but and I'm not saying it's going to outrun, Lauren Healy's car or something, but like it's comfortable to drive in the desert. So if I can get it working, I won't hesitate to sign it up for a long desert race.
That's cool.
But for now, just step one, pay off the credit card. Step two, get it out of the trailer.
Reconnect with family.
Yeah, I was gonna say step 3, not get a divorce.
You know what would be a great idea? I think coming up to Sierra Trek this year would be awesome.
Really?
Yeah.
Today I was even looking at places to stay for Trail Hero. So
wow,
I'm gonna try to mix in.
Cool.
Yeah, I'm gonna try to mix in some of the stuff that's more social too, because I'd love to just hang out with people. I'd love to just like show people cars and not always, from a distance across a race fence or something like that. So, I'm down to do anything that I can get the time off work for and that I have, that I can pay for and stuff. So I don't know what the year is going to look like. I also got another race car to build. So,
that's right.
I got plenty to do.
Right on.
Plenty on the docket. So let's put a bow on this thing. I'm going to close this out, Chris. You're like asking more questions. You're like me right now. We're switching roles, but
I'm enjoying hanging out.
Well, no, it's cool. These are great stories, and this is what we do. And the great thing about podcasting is, people listen to it, and it's like you got a half an hour or 45 minute commute to your job. Great. You shut it off and then you pick it back up when you're driving back home. So it doesn't matter how long the podcast is. And we had a lot of ground to cover here. And so I want to hear from Rodney and Kevin their takeaways from this whole experience. Like a sentence or two, not one word, but a sentence or two. What you're taking? Okay, that's Chris's.
For me though, right? If there's anything, my takeaway is, man, I got one hell of an experience, right? And it's jokingly yes, but this is what I signed up for, and I could not have had more experience any other place, right?
Right.
So look, I'm a hobbyist mechanic. I'm do shit to the Jeep or here lately I had someone do it because I didn't have the time. But
you got the money.
Hashtag Rodney money.
Rodney money.
Look, you have this passion of what you want to do, and you watch people do it on the internet, and you're like, look, I'm going down there anyway. I may as well be a bigger part of it. Because the other thing I was weighing was I'll volunteer this year more, right? So I kind of bypass. It's like going from 35s to 37s. You just go right to Kevin Jones, right?
You went to 43 stickies.
Yeah, 43
you
stickies.
Went straight to 43 stickies. You didn't fucking go to 37s. You got more than you bargained for, but my God, what a cool experience, right? You committed
I would
to
be
it from the
kicking
get-go,
myself, right? If I would have chose to stay in camp and not pursue Kevin's offer, I'd be kicking myself right now.
And watching the story unfold from camp, you'd be like, oh, shit.
Yeah, I could have been a little part of that, right? So, along with many other people.
Yeah.
That's cool. That was my experience. I told Kevin I wanted a different experience, and
you're going to do it again.
I
You got it. All right,
Absolutely.
Kevin. What's your reflection back on this whole fucking journey?
Ah!
Jesus.
Mine is I can't lose sight of why I do this. It's really easy to get caught up in the sponsor and do this for X company and put their logo on the car and all that. But I mean, when the rubber hits the road, or honestly, when the tires cartwheel through the air,
Wow.
the only thing that matters are the people.
Right.
I didn't hear from a lot of companies.
Really?
But the people came through for me. So I really man, it showed me who's in my camp, who's a true believer of what I'm doing. And I have to remember that I'm doing this for myself and I'm doing this for those people. I'm not doing it to help X company sell more, whatever. It's cool that they help me out, but I have to be realistic that they have corporate agendas and we all have human agendas.
Business is business.
Yeah,
absolutely.
You vetted out in this process who your true fans and followers are, right?
Like it's grassroots racing.
Grassroots racing, exactly right.
Racing.
And that's super cool. And good for you. And man, it's going to make you that much stronger going into 2025. And hopefully it's with your 4800 car. Who knows what the future holds there? But man, I'm just cool. It's a cool story. I'm just humbled that we get to tell this story and, be part of this experience with you. A very minor part of this, but I consider you a friend, and we're all here together tonight. But it's just a cool experience, and God bless you, because holy hell, I would not do what you just did. That just is on paper and by the book. It's like, no, my financial CPA would be like, nope, we're not doing this. That's not happening. I don't have a wife to tell me no, and my conscience is telling me no, don't do this, and you still did it. So hats off to you, man, for making this shit happen, and the tenacity is insane, and mad respect.
The word quit's not in your vocabulary, my friend.
No, you don't have quit. You should, but you don't.
Yeah.
Oh, there it is, the fireworks.
Oh, the goddamn fireworks again.
Okay. So we got to start YouTubing, because here it is on this Riverside platform that we're on. I have no idea why, but Rodney and Kevin can give a thumbs up, and it gives a thumbs up, and they could peace out, and the balloons and confetti and all this shit, and they do a double thumbs up, and all this fucking fireworks go off and shit.
If Jason had a computer newer,
and if I had a computer that would stay on,
1989.
Well, I'm sorry. Oh my God! Now Rodney does the fucking heart symbol, and he's got gay followers now. He's got gay followers. It's all good. That's great.
Wow.
Oh my God.
Edit that.
Okay. There it is.
So we're gonna put a bow on this. Jason, how do they get a hold of us?
I have no idea. I don't even know what time it is anymore. I don't even know if it's still Sunday. I have no fucking clue what's going on anymore.
Days don't matter to you anymore. You're retired, so
800.
You want me to do the?
Yeah, do it.
Okay.
Let's see if Kevin can do it. Let's go. Let's add this to your repertoire. You've been on the podcast enough times. Go ahead.
If you'd like to leave a voicemail, 408-800-5169.
Yes.
If you'd like to reach Jason or Chris, it's not Jason or Chris at wheelingwineandwhiskey.com. It's Jason at wheelingwineandwhiskey.com or Chris at wheelingwineandwhiskey.com. And as always, you can email Lorenzo at wheelingwineandwhiskey.com so he doesn't feel left out.
That's true.
Once again, 408-800-5169.
69. That is
good job.
How do you get a hold
Kevin.
of us on Instagram, Kevin?
IG, Wheel and Wine and Whiskey.
That's right.
But don't
What are your guys'
don't
IGs?
reach out to Chris at www.chrism because he's signed off apparently.
He's
I've signed off.
He's
I'm
going.
on the IG.
So whatever you do, don't blow up Chris's DMs because he won't see them
You
for
totally
6
should,
months.
though.
Oh,
You
fuck, I'm
totally
gonna have to
should.
log
But you
in now.
totally
Oh
should.
yeah.
You totally should. Send nudes.
Wow. How do you get a hold of
What?
Kevin
You
or
don't even know
Rodney?
where we're at right now. You don't even know where we're at.
You guys
So-
want to throw
DMs
out your,
are blown up.
your IGs?
We got it. Okay, Rodney, how do they get a hold of you?
R0 Mower
Starbucks.
on IG. yeah. The latte machine.
Ultra4Jones.
Sorry, real quick. So Mallory saw the group email and she saw that somebody was bringing the latte machine and she got super excited because she thought a coffee cart was coming.
Oh my God.
And then she was devastated when she realized that's just the nickname for Rodney's Jeep. But
I miss Mallory. I missed her
I
a
know.
lot.
I missed her down there too.
She's a saint. Absolutely.
Everybody knows where to find the whore. The number 4 Jones on IG and Facebook, even though I don't respond to you on Facebook. And if you want to watch my antics on YouTube, the channel is called Chasing 518.
That's
518.
right. Yes.
Oh, speaking of that,
Oh,
real
boy,
quick.
here we go. He's
real
extending
quick,
it.
are
Just
you
for the
doing
record, Chris is extending the
You're doing the
podcast.
claw hammer challenge, right?
Yeah, next month.
Next month. So there's gonna be content for that coming soon.
Absolutely. Yeah, I got to cobble together a cheap vehicle, and then we got to go smash our garbage up on Clawhammer.
Do you have the vehicle yet?
I think I'm using the truck I've been calling Sideswipe, the
Okay.
F-250 with no bed on it.
And
but-
Okay.
can we let the cat out of the bag, Chris? We're using Chris's Dodge pickup on Clawhammer Challenge.
Yep.
That's not gonna
This
happen.
year.
That truck is beautiful and it's a beast. You know you hate Dodges, but that truck's awesome. It's a freaking monster. I love my truck.
I am excited because Chris from Reckless Ranch is bringing a Suburban.
No,
so,
Suburban.
yeah. So if you thought
I
if you thought the Whiskey Runner was big, the Suburban should be pretty fun.
This
to
is
watch.
a cool deal. I'd love to get back down there and watch you guys. That is super freaking cool.
Yeah.
Sweet.
All right,
Looking
well,
forward to it.
continue making the content, Kevin. We will continue. I think he's like 6 ahead of Amber now. I don't know what the record is. Lorenzo has not. He's still asleep by the fireplace.
Yeah,
it's not even cold
he's-
here in Minden, but he is just chilling tonight. But we love it, and I want to continue this story because I know there's many more to go, and we can't make this shit up. Can't make this shit up.
Look for the movie.
That's it.
All right.
Thank
Thanks,
you.
guys.
All right,
Thank
let's
you.
put a bow on this shit, Chris, right?
Yes,
And
sir.
with that,
We're out.